Hello, everyone, and welcome to another action-packed episode of the SuperShow podcast. I'm your host for this week, Jamie, and I'm already getting laughs, which means I must be doing something right. Chris, what's tickled you there? Action-packed.
Action-packed, buddy. I'm so ready for it. It's going to be like a fucking 80s action romp in this one.
Oh, so you don't reject that synopsis? You don't think you believe we are action-packed?
Oh, I'm totally on board, buddy.
Jonesy, we're going to be relying on you to bring some of that action. I'm going to tee you up here. Your best knock-knock joke in 3, 2, 1, action.
And
that, folks,
do you know what? No,
is the
I do know
SuperShow
one.
at its best. Go on, then.
My kid's favourite knock-knock joke.
Oh, no.
I must admit, it doesn't really
We already know
work.
the punchline, then. Fuck.
Knock, knock.
Who's there?
Eura.
You're a who?
Oh, sorry, I've done it wrong.
Yeah.
Europe.
Europe who?
No, Europe who.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, cool.
That's my kid's favourite knock-knock joke.
You're really
that
setting
sounds
the
like
bar,
a kid's joke, yeah.
setting the bar high when you borrow jokes,
There are no
steal
adult
jokes from your
knock-knock
infant
jokes.
son and get them wrong. Can't even tell them.
Are there any adult knock-knock jokes? I know an adult, like, why did the chicken cross the road joke?
Yeah.
Why did the pervert cross the road?
Oh, God. Listen, people have already been cancelled, Jonesy.
Because he had his dick stuck in a chicken.
Hey, Chris, why did the pervert cross the road? Because he'd just been fired by Activision Blizzard. And that's the...
Allen Brack.
Exactly. Because if you hadn't picked up on this fact already, we are, in fact, a gaming podcast, mostly, when we can focus on that fact. And we do deliver gaming news and updates and all kinds of hot topics and discussions, and that's exactly what we're going to be doing for you over the next, I don't know, folks, what do you say, like 2 hours? Ballpark?
Yeah,
hour and a half. Hour and 45.
At least 20 minutes.
At least 20
minutes.
minutes.
A jokes podcast as well. We bring you the hottest jokes.
Yeah,
we already had 2 today.
Let's not. Let's just fucking cut it right there, fellas.
We can guarantee, no, Chris, I'm taking a stand, at least 3 more knock-knock jokes before the end of this podcast. You've heard it here first.
Can we go cheese jokes? No more cheese jokes.
No,
can you do a knock-knock joke about cheese? Kind of 2 birds, 1 stone in this situation.
No, knock-knock jokes. I don't know any knock-knock jokes. Hence, that's what you got the Europe joke, the Europe-who joke.
Yeah.
Knock-knock cheese jokes. Now that's where it's at.
With hindsight, it's probably poor form as a host to tee you up for a joke in like 30 seconds into a podcast and just put you on the spot like that. But that's what we're here to deliver. Moments, live, authentic moments.
Yeah.
And that's what that was. More authentic moments still to come.
Can I just say that sometimes I wonder why we haven't really grown
why we
in our viewership. Yeah, how come our viewership is shrinking? Although to be
not
fair,
enough cheese jokes.
Last week we did better. So thank you if you were one of the people that helped contribute to those numbers. Do appreciate
Thank you, Abandoned.
And if you enjoyed our discussions about Abandoned and you were here last week for that discussion, then all I'll say is stay tuned because we may or may not revisit that very subject later on with some brand spanking news hot off the press, courtesy of our good friend Hassan. And if you want to increase the viewership in, other ways across the board, regardless of whether or not we're talking about Abandoned, you can maybe help out by visiting us on YouTube. If you're over there, you can subscribe to the channel. That will keep you up to date and informed on future episodes, not just of this podcast, but of anything else we maybe upload to that channel. Who knows? The future is bright as far as we're concerned. We have to say that. I think it's a legal obligation at this stage. We have to. It's a Patreon thing. We have to stay optimistic. I'm sorry. You can also reach out to us on social media, Chris.
Yeah, can I tell you something cool? Because I get emails each week about how we perform on our podcasting platforms of choice. God. And last week's episode, SuperShow 82, was number 87 on Apple Podcasts for video game podcasts in Great Britain. So
that's not bad.
That is pretty cool. I was listening to that thinking you were going to drop a bomb at the end and be like, in the Philippines.
Well, we're 237 in Canada, so.
Are we top anywhere? Is there any weird little place that we're top?
Does
it tell you that?
No, because it kind of cherry picks for you on this email that it generates. But we are number 103 in Ireland. We dropped down 27 places. So,
Oh, no.
Yeah.
They won't be liking the whole no murderer angle.
Actually, on the 87th for video games in Great Britain, on Apple Podcasts, that position had dropped 15. So the week before we were 15 and better. So yeah.
Wait, so we're up on YouTube, down on audio.
Interesting. I wonder if there's some kind of isostasy happening there.
Yeah, maybe. And you could prevent that word that Chris just said by maybe watching and listening. Go through the whole podcast twice. Why not? You can listen to it on a podcasting platform of your choice. We're available on Spotify. We're available on iTunes, even Google Podcasts. And of course, you can watch the whole thing on YouTube if you want some faces to accommodate that audio. And if you want an entirely different experience, something that neither a podcast nor a YouTube video can provide, then we are, of course, still internet radio gigastars, did we say? Is that what we are?
We need a new metric here. The gigastars, megastars, superstars getting a bit like tired, a bit long in the tooth.
Any ideas? Hyperstars?
No, like gaming
porn stars.
Oh, okay, there we go.
Will we get in trouble with Paisley Radio if we call ourselves internet radio porn stars?
Dude, can I just say, Paisley Radio are the most chill motherfuckers out there, because we've said some shit and we have not heard anything that is more like, yeah, you guys do what you do.
Yeah, cool. This is when we find out they actually stopped airing the podcast like 6 months ago. Hopefully that's not the case. You can fact check that for us if you tune in on paisleyradio.com. We are broadcast, so I've heard, at Thursdays at 10 p.m. And if you miss it, it's repeated on Mondays at that same time. That's 10 p.m., whatever the time is in England. You can work that out in your country using the internet. Boys, there's other stuff we're going to get to later. We're going to talk about the Patron and maybe why there's a reason this week of all weeks where you might be looking to sign up to that and take advantage of all those hot exclusive perks that we have to offer. That link will be, although I'm going to get to it later, I'll tell you the link now because some of you might stop listening. Patreon.com/SuperShow. But in the meantime, how about we jump in with a little bit of news? 2 feet first.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Chris, you ready? You limbered up?
Yeah, listen, I've been watching a lot of Olympics, right? And I don't want to pull a groin. So I'm ready.
Did you watch that one thing where that woman, I think it must have been in like the taekwondo or the judo, her coach amps her up by like shaking her and slapping her before the fight? I feel like that's what we need.
I've seen that in weightlifting. I haven't seen it in the taekwondo. They'll have a slap around the back of the
If we ever do like a physical podcast recording in the future for some special occasion, that's how we're going to amp ourselves up.
Have you
I used to jump up and down before we did the one in the booth. I used to be like, oh, come on.
Yeah, I always used to think you were having an epileptic fit, and I was like running up to get like, the office defibrillator or something.
Chris used to prepare
somebody epileptic fit, he's boom.
That's how I do it, buddy. Like, there's no fucking mercy. If you sneeze, I'll fucking get the defibrillator out and just fucking shock you.
That feels like pouring gasoline off. That's like someone's like spazzing out the floor after an ODing on coke, and you're like just pouring more coke up their nose. Like, come back, come back.
Do you know what it really was though? Like hyping us up for the older versions of SuperShow when we were all together. It was you two just fucking talking the biggest load of shit and me saying, all right, guys, we've only got the podcasting room for like another hour. We
were getting you ready. We were helping.
See.
It's all about finding your rhythm and finding your flow, and what better way to do that than with conversation, Chris? Apparently, it's an art. Do you know what else is an art?
Tell me.
The art of segueing from one story to another. So let's talk about the first video game of this entire, 10 minutes of recording, Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh.
It's the upcoming game from Guerrilla Games, the sequel to Horizon Forbidden, what's it called? No, Horizon Zero Dawn. That's the name of that game.
No, hold on. How does Jonesy say it?
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Horizon Zero Dawn.
Lord of the Rings. Return of the King.
I would never say that because I've never watched it, so I don't need to.
Yep. Anyway,
hold on. You've never watched Lord of the Rings?
What, that Hobbit trash? No.
Get the fuck out of this podcast.
Wait, but you've seen Lord of the Rings though, right?
No, I haven't seen that Hobbit trash.
You haven't seen any of it?
Oh my God.
I tried to watch it once. I did try and watch it once, and I fell asleep because it was so boring.
Wow.
There was someone was in soft focus. Some elf lady was in soft focus, and then Hugo Weaving was there and looking like a weirdo. And then some orcs and borks popped in, and I was like, I'm going to sleep.
Orcs and borks. Do you ever have that thing where you've known someone for like a decent chunk of time?
I've told you.
And they say something so fucking moronic that you don't know.
Such
you don't even know who they are anymore. It's like, I guess, like in a marriage, and the husband like Bones dogs or something, and the wife finds us like, I don't know you. That's how I feel right now. You're a dog boner.
Jules, I tell you what's weird about those films is even though I haven't actually I've sat down and seen one the whole way through. I feel like I've seen about 2 of them.
Wait, so you haven't watched the Battle of Helm's Deep? You fucking maniac!
I don't know what the Battle of Helm's Deep is. Oh. It did make playing Shadow of Mordor more interesting because I didn't really know what the hell was going on.
But you loved Shadow of Mordor, so
I did love Shadow of Mordor.
You can get into that universe, that world, if you tried to.
It was more the game. I love the game and the action and the gameplay and how it all felt. Some of the more like weird, elfy stuff I just kind of ignored.
The weird elfy stuff. You play as a guy that's got an elf inside of him. The game is half elf.
The game is half elf. No, but it's not really. It's like any game. You don't have. If you play the Smeagol game or whatever when it comes out, it's not like you have to actually. Really, I
still forget they're making that.
Smeagol.
Yeah.
Or what was his name? Gollum.
Gollum. That game,
but this
Lord of the Rings.
This is what fucking blows my mind. You know that Gollum's real name is Smeagol. Like,
yeah. I've seen so much of those bits of those movies over the years.
You pick up Lord of the Rings stuff through osmosis, whether you want to or not. I can definitely agree with that.
I just kind of feel like Smeagol is quite a niche kind of thing to pick up, though. But okay, fair enough. That's
that TV show is coming out like soon, right? Or is it? No, it's next year.
Next year, but they just released.
They released a picture,
first official image.
Yeah.
It's cool. It could be cool.
One day, do you know what? Maybe one day I'll sit down and watch the whole trilogy, and I'll be like, "Oh, this is actually quite good," but because I've never done it. I wouldn't know.
Dude, one piece of advice: watch it in the cinema, watch it on DVD, watch the extended versions on DVD.
I knew it. Oh. I was actually going to give Jonesy that exact advice. Don't tell any Lord of the Rings fans you're about to do it, because they'll all bully you into watching the extended editions, and you just don't need to give up that much time in your life.
I will admit that you probably should not watch the extended editions unless you watch the normal ones, and if you're really into it, then watch it, because there's a lot of stuff that quite clearly never needed to be there.
How many are there now? 5, right? There's the trilogy and then there's the Hobbit ones.
No, there's 6, because I think there were 3 Hobbit ones. Don't watch the Hobbit ones.
God.
They're crap. Yeah, don't watch those.
Okay. Sorry, I've kind of Lord of the Rings has hijacked this. I apologize.
Nah, do you know
what? Listen, you sent a fucking WhatsApp message earlier this week saying, "Oh, we should talk more about films."
Yeah, but not Lord of the Rings.
Is it not a movie?
Yeah, but I meant new movies.
Are you not entertained?
Apparently not.
Bumped my microphone. I'm so amped up now.
Well, speaking of people with braided hair prancing around with bows and arrows, hey, see, we're getting too ahead of the game. Getting too far ahead of the game.
Can you write my obituary when I bite the dust? Can you just kind of like
I love that
spit a few yarns?
You're gonna die before me, and there's absolutely no fucking way that's happening. Look at us.
I think you'd be surprised, buddy.
No, I've got a few years on you, but you've just got, I think, just about every other metric leads to do. Although you do get ill like fucking 3 times a month.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those.
He was a sickly man.
Yeah, he was a sickly man. He loved gaming, but he never had time to game.
Yeah. Well, good news, Chris. You don't need that much time to game in the near
future. You don't need to do another segue. Just get into it.
I'm just saying I might set the record for how many segues into the same story can one person do. Look, let's get to the actual meat of this story, which is that Horizon Forbidden West was going to originally come out probably sometime later this year. In fact, as recently as last month, Herman Hulst, the head of PlayStation Studios, said that the game was quote-unquote on track for release in the holiday season. So it was teed up, it looked like, to be sort of one of the, if not the biggest sort of tentpole release for the PlayStation 5 of pretty much the entire year, let alone that season, although it would have come out on the PS4 as well. It now seems like that may not well be the case. It looks, boys, like Horizon Forbidden West might get delayed. So to break down sort of the order things kind of broke to the public in, there was an initial report from Jeff Grubb. I feel like referring to all these guys as friends of the podcast just because we say their names every week.
Just call him Jefe.
El Jefe. Well, there's 2 El Jefes in this story, that's the thing. El Jefe Uno, Jeff Grubb, initially reported it. He does this kind of like podcasty video thing where he essentially said that Sony were leaning towards a 2022 release for the title. Then Jason Schreier, aka El Jefe Dos, swept in not long afterwards, and his report over at Bloomberg was a lot more definitive, using the words that Sony had decided and delayed Horizon Forbidden West into next year. Probably looking at some kind of a Q1 shtick, right? Like it's got to be. You've got to imagine that's a February, March, at worst April.
Yeah,
kind of thing, right?
This is the interesting thing. So you've got fucking the holster. Either he said I'm on crack, or he did actually say it's on track. Now, yeah, you see, it's a possibility.
It's a thick accent, the Dutch one.
And sometimes people have earwax, Jamie. It's true.
This I know.
That's killed me. I don't know why. Okay, but look, my point is this. What it would seem if it was on track, and I'm hearing words like decided, leaning towards, that's like a decision that it's like decided upon, not forced upon, right? So it's not like the way that I read into it, and obviously I'm reading into it way too much because I'm a gamer with a capital G, is the game could potentially be ready by the time they initially said that they're going to release it. But maybe they're just doing a bit of actual fucking strategy here and saying now, okay, pinch of salt here, but saying that if they were to release Forbidden West when they said that there would be a really big gulf before there was another big release. Looking at God of War Ragnarok, right? In particular, that's just because that's me.
Right.
But what if they just said, like, you know what, we've got these other games coming out. Like, we don't want to stack the slate too much in this period. So it would probably be a wise idea to move it. Now, I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that.
But then you're also making a bigger gulf in front of it when they last had a big tentpole game on the PlayStation 5.
Well, not necessarily, because it's not necessarily like looking at first-party titles only. But I think maybe they're looking at like the bigger picture, not just the Sony Studios game, but like more than that.
Because like planned out their calendar and said what's coming out and gone. We've got more of a hole here, so let's push it till Q1 sort of time.
Yeah, exactly. Like, didn't Kenna Bridge of I want to say Bridge of Spies.
Yes, Tom Hanks's Kenna Bridge of Spies was delayed to September.
Right.
September also being the month that Deathloop, one of the only remaining PS5 exclusives, is coming out.
Yeah, which has just gone gold. So
which has just gone gold.
I mean, if we discount what happened with Cyberpunk, gold means we're ready to release it, baby. You know, I don't think Sony would make that mistake again for a very long time. So I would imagine that if they say it's gone gold, Sony probably made sure that it's ready to fucking go. So yeah, so maybe they're like, okay, September. So fuck, what have we got coming up after that? And just kind of pushing it a bit further.
Interesting. I don't know if I agree with that. I think from them, what they've said and what it sounds like to me, it's more like, yeah, we could have got it out 2021, but we really would have to have pushed. And we know in this day and age, maybe that's not the best. Like, it's on track to come out if we pull out all the stops, if we start like beating the team to get it out and making them work every hour under the sun. But we're going to wait till 2022. Like, because do you know what I mean? I think it's more of them, less than the calendar sort of thing.
Anything's possible.
It's one of those things where I think we're just going to have to sort of grit our teeth through the next 4 months or so, because I was actually, even aside from this announcement, I was checking the sort of Wikipedia page for 2021 in video games, or whatever it's called, and just reminding myself of the big releases in October and November and December. Kind of thinking, okay, like, what's our Q4? What's our Christmas looking like? What am I going to get my mum to buy for me? Because I don't want to spend money on it myself. And it's like, boys, I don't know if you've checked recently, but it's not looking that hot.
No,
that's what I'm saying.
Over the course of the year, we'd lost track of how many games had been delayed into 2022, how stacked that year now looks, and how weak this fall looks. And the only thing I'm thinking about is that, like,
that's why I don't think it's a tactical decision to push it.
Yeah, Horizon could have crushed. If Horizon was coming out in November, like to counter, say, Forza Horizon, which is what Xbox are kind of banking on for November, assuming Halo comes out in October, I don't know. Horizon would have been a big deal. And speaking of Halo and Forza, that also now means, and not to add fuel to the console fire war, because that doesn't need any more fuel as far as anyone's concerned, but Halo and Forza make this a better Q4 for Xbox than PlayStation will have with Deathloop. especially now because Deathloop is 1 year away from coming to Xbox for free because Xbox own the people making it. Like, so Sony's only big PS5 exclusive is owned by their rival this year. It's bizarre.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll all find something to play though, right? Like,
we will. There'll be something.
Yeah, but the thing we'll play
Game
is just
Pass.
exactly, like a fucking 2-year-old game on Game Pass because we said and I'm still planning on doing it, but we said heave ho. Like
shit, yeah.
That's the shit I'd imagine we'd be playing. And Games Pass, like Hades is coming to Games Pass today. Curse of the Old Gods came to Games Pass. I'm hoping to hop on that. Like, yeah, there's plenty to play. It's just you miss out on that kind of like big shiny shit, right?
And speaking of missing out on the big shiny shit, I have to ask the unpopular question before we move on to the next chunk of the podcast. Jonesy, I'll go to you first as a keen PS5 owner and a proud PS5 owner. Does a delay for Horizon Forbidden West make room for an internal delay that obviously we're never made privy to for God of War Ragnarok? Because even if you could release those games close to each other, you probably don't want to.
So sorry, what's the question? Does it make
is there a situation where, let's say at one point in time, let's say you go back 2 months and you walked up to Herman Holst on the street, said, "Herman, great to meet you, shake my hand," and he had slightly sweaty palms, and you said, "Why are you nervous?" He's like, "I don't know if we're going to get Horizon done in time." And he talks through the kind of the release schedule, and he says, "Well, in my head, Horizon Forbidden West is coming out in November, and that means we've got time for God of War Ragnarok to come out in April." And you go, cool. You speak to him today, and his palms are slightly less sweaty because he's made his decision for Christ. He says, but there's been some knock-on effects. Horizon's coming out in February. That means God of War ain't coming out till October, November now. God of War's a Christmas game, buddy.
Yeah, but what I'm saying...
we need to split our PS5 games up.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, I think it's the other way around. I know you asked Jonesy, but I'm fucking butting in.
Yeah, no, jump on.
I think it's the other way around. I think potentially Ragnarok is delayed, and then they've got this massive goal that they need to kind of fix halfway, right?
But you still fit with Jamie's idea of the calendar, right? So you're still thinking that Christmas or holidays net 2022 will be Ragnarok, and earlier in the year will be...
Whatever it might be.
I know what you're saying, Jamie. No, it does annoy me. It does piss me off a bit. Like, because I think we all knew Ragnarok was getting pushed. Like, no one thought that was actually going to drop in 2021. When they showed just like the title of it, everyone's like, "This is not coming out in 1 year." Like, what are you talking about? But I think because we'd seen a lot more stuff for Horizon, especially what we saw at E3, it definitely felt like it was a possibility still. It did feel like it was a stretch, and I think we were already saying what the chance of it getting pushed. But now this does kind of suck. I would say that I'm looking forward to Horizon more than I'm looking forward to Ragnarok. Not just because one is better than the other. Just I really enjoyed God of War, but Horizon for me was like a more kind of, I don't know, all-encompassing fantasy like post-apocalyptic world that I really got into. And God of War was wicked, and the fighting was great, but it was a less sort of developed world in that sense. To me, it's like a narrative and everything, although the obviously the whole narrative thing behind God of War was wicked. So I was more looking forward to playing some more Horizon. So I'm kind of more bummed out about Horizon than I am about Ragnarok. And I'd also told myself Ragnarok's definitely getting delayed to 2022. So I was kind of expecting.
I guess it also kind of helps that Ragnarok doesn't quite feel real yet, you know?
Yeah,
like,
exactly. You've never seen anything. Like, so it's just a potential at the moment. It's just a bloody title.
Yeah.
Can I float a question by you guys, right? Knowing how well received God of War was, okay, and seeing now what's happened with Horizon, do you think that that Sony would ever pull a Bethesda, and when they reveal Ragnarok, whenever it may be, it'll be like, yeah, it's out in 3 months' time, because there's no need for them. Technically, especially if it's a quieter slate, there's no need for them to kind of delay and draw out this kind of process of saying, "Oh yeah, look, here's the gameplay, and this is a cinematic trailer," and go through all of that. Because what Bethesda realized is like, fuck, we've got to, at least at that E3, there's like, we've got a fucking captive audience. They've heard rumors of this game. The game's ready. Like, let's just fucking do it, right?
Kind of stitches you up as well, because then you're further out, you're less likely to know your release schedule. You're kind of guessing a little bit more. But if you, like you said, if you already are close to finishing it and then you go, hey, it's in 3 months, then you protect yourself somewhat against all the backlash about pushing a game further. So very possibly.
Yeah,
I think
I mean,
sorry,
yes, it's all right. I was going to say, like, you look at the COD cycle, like we haven't even gotten a fucking trailer for Vanguard.
Very true. Very true.
You know, it's getting a bit late in the fucking year, fellas.
Like the latest it's ever been, probably, like, to hear absolutely nothing, for sure.
Yeah. To be fair, they do have Warzone to kind of push it. So it's almost like an instantaneous, like, guaranteed thing.
The promotional material for the upcoming season of Warzone has hinted at Vanguard coming soon. So.
Yeah.
But I just think that it's telling that our point of reference for 6 month or less turnarounds between announcement and a release is still a game that came out 6 years ago. And that same studio's next game, they just announced its release date 18 months ahead of time. So, like, companies aren't even playing by their own rules or learning from their own positive examples. And, like, I don't know what the good reason for it is, but if everyone does it, like...
Yeah. Can I tell you the flip side of me saying that they should just do it that way? The flip side is, as much as it's going to kill a lot of people to hear it, the flip side is the success of Cyberpunk. Not the success of the game, like the success of sales. Like the build up to that game, and the hype generated by that game was so fucking astronomical, right?
Yeah, you give yourself less time to do pre-orders and to get people to sort of buy into it.
Yeah, it's like, pre-orders and let's just fucking feed them all these little fucking things. Even go so far as saying like, Adidas has made some fucking shoes for it. And that's the news cycle for this week, you know? But it just, they always had something that just fucking kept on churning and building up the hype. And then they get these like fucking insane orders.
Well, it's not even that, right? Imagine the amount of money they make on the back end for the media side. So we make this podcast, we put it onto YouTube. We don't get that many views to sort of make it monetarily worthwhile. But if you are CD Projekt Red and you're making content around Cyberpunk and you're getting millions upon millions of views, that's a viable income strategy to lead up to the release of a game. And if you can milk that for 2 years, 3 years, and release. Because they even had like competitions for Cyberpunk where they were like, do the best fan art and send it in, and you got this free stuff. And then they had all the deals and the mergers they had with other companies. They must have made a shit ton of money in that sense before the game had even come out. Right.
Well, probably offset quite a lot by their astronomical like marketing budget, but yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely. But
probably also, that kind of money might become a bit of a footnote month on month when you're still selling games like The Witcher 3 every month. Right? It's like when your accountant looks at I don't know how money or numbers work, but I'm just imagining a long sheet of paper with all these, like a word and then a number next to it. The Witcher 3 number is probably consistently bigger than the CD Projekt Red YouTube channel number.
No, of course, but if you it's not just the videos, is it? It's all the merch and it's all, like we're saying, it's all the other stuff that goes along with it. So it's everything you can tie in. It's the merch and the licensing deals, and if you can get everyone to like follow along on that journey, then I'd like to know how much it does end up being.
Yeah, so like when God of War Ragnarok comes out and there's a gaming chair tied to it. I mean, we know who's going to buy one.
I mean, Jonesy, to be fair, if you wanted to know how much money there was in never releasing a game, you could just email the guys at Star Citizen. I'm sure they'll give you a decent...
Anyway. We know, 350 million quid or something,
Anyway, to put a bow on that previous story, the hopefully somewhat positive thing is we might get some more information on Horizon Forbidden West and Sony's future plans and a bunch of other companies' future plans in the coming months. Jeff Grubb, when he initially talked about the potential for a delay, he mentioned that there might be a state of play stream sometime in September. We've also got Jeff Keighley. He's just confirmed that the Gamescom opening night live stream that will be 2 hours long is happening once again later this month. And one thing that I actually forgot about, because it's later this year, the DC Fandom will return in like a couple of months. So games like Gotham Knights, Suicide Squad, Kill the Justice League, Belfry, and even the Hogwarts game. We may well get updates on any of those. And I feel like when you're talking about games in September, October, you can start giving concrete dates or even just general dates for Q1, Q2 2022, which is not much of what we got in June and July through the E3 season. Anyway, with that all said and done, how about we move on to a couple of comments of the week?
Love it.
And I say a couple because we do in fact have two. The first one comes in from Sean H. says, gents, been watching since show 2 or 3.
Wow.
If anyone is a bit slow in the math department, that means Sean's been watching for around 80 episodes. Pretty impressive. And absolutely loving the rising cringe level of the segues, which I hope this episode's already delivered a few, Sean. And Chris's reaction to them. Chris, give a smile. If I'm going to interrupt this comment 4 times, I might as well get you involved. Let's see a reaction. Imagine if Dustin an epic segue. Do a face.
Okay, cool. Yeah, carry on.
That's for you, Sean. There you go, buddy. It's just bloody great entertainment from the SuperShow Gigastars.
No,
that's awkward. Yeah, we've already moved on. See, that, folks, is why you kind of have to keep watching every single episode, because you only have to miss one recording, and then you're behind on the jokes.
Shit changes so quick.
Yeah, shit changes quick.
Fellas, life moves pretty fast. If you don't stop to take a look around, you might miss it.
I'm trying to... That's got to be from something, but
Seriously?
Is it from Ferris Bueller's Day Off or something?
Oh,
yeah.
No.
Yeah, we'll get to why that's relevant in just a second. But before we talk about Matthew Broderick, I do have one more comment of the week that comes in from Unruly Cats. A bit of an informative one, this one. So put your ears up, Jonesy. I know you're a progressive and you're a bit stuck in your ways. And I think it was, you told us before.
How am I a progressive stuck in my ways?
Yeah, you've contradicted yourself.
No, as in he was stuck in his ways. He's trying to be more progressive.
Oh, I see.
Just before we started recording, Jonesy told us that it was his son that got him to stop using the F slur just last year.
Yeah, 4 years old. He already knew. He knew more than I did.
Oh dear. I hope
Dad, you can't say that.
Anyway, this one from
I love that. There's going to be a load of people that don't get that.
You get that, don't you, Jonesy?
What?
That joke I just made about the F slur.
I thought I did. Maybe I don't.
Oh, so basically Matt Damon did an interview this week. He's doing promotion for a film, and he made the Liam Neeson-esque mishap of admitting that he only stopped using the homophobic F-slur around the house last year after being told by his daughter they couldn't. So everyone's like, hang on a second.
No,
Matt Damon was walking around in 2020 just dropping the F-slur around the house.
In front of his kid?
Yeah, and his daughter, who's like 15, to be like, Dad, we don't say that anymore.
Wow.
I wasn't trying to imply that you yourself were. I was just.
I'm glad you clarified that, because, like I said, I wonder how many people know that little tidbit.
Yes. I didn't even get it. I thought you were making a joke that my 4-year-old had to educate me on not using slurs. But
Jonesy,
I thought it was also a bit of an in-joke, because Jamie's the one that we educate after the podcast that you can't say certain things.
That's true.
And then we have to go back and take them out.
And honestly, Jonesy, I can say wholeheartedly is 100% not a homophobic, and I know at least 4 men who can back that up. Anyway, Unruly Cat says, glad to have 5. Oh yeah, I forgot the 5th one. Glad to have discovered this show through the Abandoned connection. There we go. By the way, here's the informative bit. Al-Hub is an Arabic site, so the prefix al in its name means the. So the hub. Cheers, and thank you, Unruly Cat, for giving us that little bit of information about the word al. I was saying to Chris before we started recording, I should have picked up on it, because lots of football clubs, I should say, in Saudi Arabia and the United Arab Emirates have al in their name, like Al-Hilal.
Al Jazeera?
I was going to say, what does Jazeera mean then? Because that's the Jazeera.
Jizz.
Yeah, the jizz.
The jizz.
But listen,
it's a bit like an Arabic version of, you know how we say the dog's bollocks or the tits. They would say, this shit's the jizz, man.
What about
you gotta try it?
The Burj Al Arab, or the Burj Al Khalifa? Mir Khalifa. Also, I think our joke on like Al Hub being like Pornhub just for people called Al, I think it's much better than the Hub. Come on,
the Hub. Yeah, I guess so. So what's Pornhub called in Arabic then? Al Pornhub.
The porn? No, it's just called Pornhub though, isn't it?
Al Porn.
This is not useful. I've just looked at what Jazeera means in Arabic on Google Translate, and in English it's just Jazeera. It doesn't help.
Yeah,
just one of those made up words.
What does it mean?
Yeah, I suppose that's the weird thing about Al just being is that a lot of things just.
Can I put a request quickly? Yeah. Unruly Cat, if you are listening, so if we didn't scare you off in that your inaugural episode, your introduction to the Super Show, and if you are here for the second time round, then just let us know in the comments down below.
There you go.
I'd appreciate it.
Absolutely.
Also, if you know what Jazeera means, let us know.
I think we've already established it's it is not just jizz, it's jizz era, like ERA, like the era of jizz.
The
Like, you know
jizz
how
era.
we had the Bronze Age? This is the jizz era, boy. Everyone's coming.
just not near other people.
We're building entire civilizations with cum. Fuck cement.
Hey,
We're
guess what?
putting bricks together with cum.
I'm not the dick man in this episode. Jamie's the dick man.
Jamie's the dick.
Hey, there's a difference between dicks and cum, boy.
Okay, that's fine. You be the cum
you
man.
You don't have to suck a dick to eat cum. I can tell you from experience.
Wow.
Okay. While we're in the process of dropping fact bombs. Okay. I learned that from watching Jonesy and his 5 friends. Anyway, Unruly Cat, thanks for stopping by. And if you want to help support us in the future, if you, for whatever reason, think that this podcast deserves to go on even longer than it already has,
God, it
even
doesn't.
more episodes,
It really doesn't.
But if let's say you're a confused or otherwise troubled
God.
individual who feels the need to show your support in the form of a generous donation, there is in fact a way you can do that, because we are already supported by a number of very kind, very generous folks over on our Patreon. The link for that is patreon.com/SuperShow. We have a bunch of tiers over there, and depending on which tier you choose to donate, you can get a variety of perks and rewards as such. For example, if you start donating to our Patreon at $2 a month, you can get access to our Discord server, where all 3 of us and our pre-existing community hang out and talk about everything from games to, well, cum.
No way around it, I guess.
We're just being honest. But especially juicy for this month of all months, if you donate at the $5 tier, you can get access to Patreon exclusive content with a capital C. That means audio content, that means video content. And this week we had the debut of a long-awaited piece of video content, our very own podcasty, video-y, super cool, brand new thing.
It's our take on true crime, is what it is.
It's our You've heard Serial and you've thought this needs
more cum.
Someone needs to do it again. This needs more cum. Serial with cum, and you put in cereal and cum in the algorithm machine, and out comes our brand new show, Known Murderers. I say brand new show like we're optimistic about making more than one episode. Fuck only knows. Like, we recorded that 3 weeks ago.
No, it was 2 weeks ago.
2 weeks, yeah.
2 weeks ago. But thanks to the hard labouring and to the elbow grease of our very own Alex Jones, that is now available to watch for patrons. Jonesy, I feel like you were sort of strapped to the beast on that one for a little while. Are you proud of what we've been able to produce?
I am proud of what we've been able to produce. Do you know what? There was a little part of me that was a little bit worried that us cackling hyenas talking about like someone getting murdered would not, you know what I mean? Might come across in a bad way. But I rewatched it and it didn't at all. Do you know what? I think we had a very good level between the humour that we brought to it, and then the knowledge bombs that we were dropping about what actually occurred.
Hell yeah.
So it was
there we go. Love it. I agree.
Enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to the next one already.
Absolutely. And there will be a next one. As much as we joke about, how bad we are at getting together and recording stuff, we did have a good time recording that one, and there will be more Known Murderers to come. So stay tuned if you're already a patron, and maybe consider supporting us if you're looking and wondering on what you're missing. And of course, thank you to everyone who's already watched and or listened to that and has shown their support. It means a lot. Some of you might be amongst the bunch of names that I'm about to read. This week we've got fucking hell. A normal Patreon name, ... meets punk rock mosh pit. I actually respect that. That's a good callback.
That's big respect for that one.
That's a good one. Aaron Cameron, Athletic Gravy, Jesper Camdal Nielsen, Jovella Cujo, Leo Merger, Lonnie Thompson, Magic Ritz, Mindful Pig, Nathan Pears, Pastors Guild, Scary Omen, Starfall Kids, Zach Cream, and the big dogs, the head honchos, Shellshock, Hacksaw Book Read, Manuel Investigate SJP Guerrero, Peaswad, and the Dude Abides. Manuel clearly using his platform there to make a bit of a statement. Investigate SJP.
Yeah.
I wonder what that could be a reference to. You might have to get your credit card out to find out.
I laughed a second time when I watched it back.
God.
The SJP. I laughed again.
There we go. We can say no more. That'll have to remain a secret.
I can tell you one thing. I was watching Peaswad streaming today. All right. And he very, very graciously, every time I pop into his stream, he kind of big ups SuperShow to his listeners or his viewers, his stream army, I guess.
The Peaswad Posse.
The Peaswad Posse. I fucking love that one. Peas, you can have that one for free.
It's like some Old West shit.
And he was saying how he was saying how hard I was laughing at the SJP segment. But then he was saying that he was also in tears at how funny it was. But he disclosed that he was watching it while he was on the toilet taking a shit. He was like just sat there, just fucking tears streaming down his face sitting on the toilet. So fair play, Peaswad. There you go.
Do you know what it is? For me, it was the unsightly woman line. An unsightly woman. I was just dying. That's killed me. Like, that killed me.
All right, no more spoilers. That's the limit on spoilers. There
Sorry.
you go. No Murderers, episode 1, patreon.com/SuperShow. Thank you once again to everyone that's supporting us and to everyone that is even considering signing up. It means a lot and is genuinely how we are still going, despite all the references to come, which I promise that's the last one. That was kind of like a self-referential thing.
Okay, but hold on. Just very quickly. How much money do you think it would take to change the internet infrastructure to force people to type in .com instead of .com?
Do you know what? Oh, wait, internet infrastructure for every website ever.
Yeah,
that's already got a .com domain.
Oh, Jesus!
I don't think it's possible
Billions
because
and
people,
billions.
because people own the. You'd have to shift the entire .com. Yeah, I don't know.
You'd know that it wouldn't be that. You just have to make it so that when you typed in .com, it didn't go anywhere. So people had to type in .com.
Or you could just redirect it that every time you typed in .com, it changed it to .com.
Yeah, but then that's pointless because then you wouldn't even notice it was doing it. You need to make people do it, right?
But you see, because in the URL bar, it will say .com, and then whenever anybody needs to do some work and be like, oh yeah, check out like this link that I've sent you, it'll always have .com in there, and I think that's pretty rad.
I just searched google.com and nothing came up.
So it doesn't seem like there is a .com. I don't think you can get it. I'm looking in the seas right now.
How have the porn companies not jumped on this?
Yeah, it jumps right from .cruises to .cu. So a huge gap in the market for any fans of cum out there. Something worth thinking about. Also worth thinking about, video games. The things we're actually here to talk about, and one of the ways we facilitate talking about them is by playing them. Chris, video games. What are they, and have you played any?
Boom. Talk to me. Yes, I have not. Kind of. Yes, I have. I've played. Since the last time we recorded the podcast, I've had a lot kind of like going on. Had to travel to Manchester for a couple of days, and the only gaming that I did manage to get done was continuing to play the Dragon Quest XI's demo on my Switch, because that thing is still like fucking 12 hours long, that demo.
God damn.
And it's great. I'm really enjoying it, but I'm also kind of like, it's very kind of like, and I'm sure I'm going to get big Dragon Quest fans kind of maybe disagreeing me with on this, but it does feel very kind of surface level RPG.
Okay.
And it does make me kind of long for a Final Fantasy, as an example.
Right.
So much so that I am very tempted to get, even though it's completely pointless, but I'm very tempted to get Final Fantasy 12 on the Switch. And the reason I say it's pointless is because I do have it on Games Pass. It's free on Games Pass. So, and I've loaded it on my PC on Games Pass. But yeah, I don't think there's cross progression. If there was, then I'll fucking buy it, no problem.
So we need a Steam Deck, and then you'll be set.
Oh, buddy, don't tempt me. Now that I'm bringing in the big bucks with a fucking monthly paycheck.
Hell yeah. Living the dream.
Just call him Steam Deck Chris.
Please, let's not.
I think that nickname kind of suits you, actually, thinking about it. Steam Deck Chris. SDC. San Diego Comic-Con. Baby, in the house. I don't know what I'm going on. Here's one thing for you to look out for, though, if you are going to continue keeping your Switch with you as your sort of your travel buddy. I believe, unless something weird happens, No More Heroes 3 is actually going to come out this month.
Oh, quality, yeah. I did know that. It kind of much like many things in my life, it slips in and out of my stream of consciousness.
Yeah, I get that. Honestly, I think that's just a No More Heroes thing as well as a you thing.
Yeah, I think it's a double whammy in this instance. Sure. No, I'm all for it. But yeah, Dragon Quest 11S, go check it out, free demo. Like it's like fucking buying a game. Because that's how fucking long it is. But it's a fun time. Like it's just like it's a jolly old time. You play it and you smile because it's like one of those, But yeah, besides that, look, I haven't really been able to play much. I wanted to start streaming again. Obviously, that hasn't materialized. I wanted to play some Heave Ho with you guys and a bit of a ATG mini reunion stream.
That's meant to be tomorrow, right?
I mean, at this rate, I don't know, but maybe.
Oh, okay. Well, we'll see where we go.
We could try. But yeah, so that'll. Well, but when we say tomorrow, by the time you listen to this, it may have already happened. But
today, head over to twitch.tv/hot panic for a live stream that should have happened.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I still got to get back to Dark Souls, and then Curse of the Old Gods just come out on Games Pass. There's like so many things. There's so many things, and I'm hoping, as my new position, kind of like I ease into it a little bit more, that I'll have more time for gaming, and I'm sure it will be a thing. But fellas, if I haven't been playing games, I've been watching TV, and I've been watching a lot of the Olympics because Olympics is cool, as you well know. And my wife is a bit of a Olympics nut. She loves it. So we've been watching kind of like all the finals and the replays and what have you. And it's a good, fun time. Kind of weird without a crowd there, especially when these dudes because we like the athletics a lot of the time. So you're watching the athletics and 100 meters, 200 meters, blah, blah, blah. Mm-hmm. And these guys win gold, and then they get the flag over, and they run like a victory lap, and there's no one in the fucking stands.
No one there, yeah.
It's very odd. But so I feel for the athletes. But hey, like Olympics is cool. Yeah.
I've been enjoying the Olympics as well, but can I propose a thought to you that you're not going to like at first, but is coming from a genuine place? I'm not just trying to rile you up. Considering the relative sort of like size of the nation and the population, and considering the prowess at a number of other sports, especially things like rugby and cricket, why don't South Africa do well at the Olympics?
That's a very good question. I think,
I just think off the top of my head, South Africa's going to have people that are good at things, which obviously it does. I'm not trying to suggest it doesn't, but at the Olympic, why does Great Britain win 20 times more medals across the board than South Africa?
Very easy.
Is it infrastructure? Yeah. Is it funding?
Yeah, very easy answer. It's infrastructure.
They just don't care.
Nah.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes. So rugby and cricket, we are kind of like world class in that because I don't know. That's just kind of like how it's happened, right? But our football is not world class, even though it's massive in South Africa. But the infrastructure is not there to kind of cater to it in an international competitive way. In its own way in South Africa, it is. But the things that we do well in the Olympics, sometimes it's athletics. Because if you think about it, how much infrastructure do you really need to learn how to run faster?
Right.
There will be people that will say a lot of fucking infrastructure, and you're not wrong. But also, you could, you just get a talented person and it happens.
Just be born in Jamaica, you could probably run a pretty quick 100 meters.
Right. Yeah. But then also, we do really well usually in the swimming.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, other than that, I think it's swimming and athletics that kind of pips it for us. But yeah.
It is an interesting one, and you definitely notice it when countries in recent years, obviously places like Russia and China, but even it happened to us in the sort of years running up to 2012, when a country is just oh shit, time to spend millions and millions of dollars making athletes happen, and it does just kind of happen,
and it's worked out, right? Britain's doing really well in this Olympics as well, from 2012 onwards, they've been doing pretty consistently better.
We've always been into it, haven't we? We've always tried back sport.
We've always been into it.
It's always been. But I think Chris is right. If you don't have the infrastructure,
we stepped up at one point though.
We did,
especially at the turn of the century.
We did step it up for sure.
But if you think about what happens in Britain, God, this is a very interesting gaming podcast, isn't it? But if you think about what happened here, is they're kind of supplementing a lot of the infrastructure with the lottery.
Yeah.
Right. Whereas I think in South Africa, the lottery is just so corrupt that that just gets pocketed. And then you also got to think that national pride gets a big chunk of it, but we get our national pride from rugby and cricket, right? So that's kind of good enough for us, I guess, maybe.
Right.
But then also, like, what's the benefit of South Africa pouring millions into a sporting infrastructure besides rugby and cricket? What's the
someone might come up with a really cool celebration like the Mobot, and you get to do it all summer.
Yeah, cool. Hey, I mean, the last time that happened, we gave the world a vuvuzela, so I don't know how much you want that to happen.
Forgotten all about that. Never give South Africa a platform when it comes to sporting events.
Hey, I'll tell you, the vuvuzela is just an adaptation of the South American trompetas.
Is that just trumpet?
Yeah, it's just trumpet.
Yeah.
Let me tell you, okay, being in a stadium full of vuvuzelas, the most electrifying thing you'll ever experience.
I'm so sad I've never experienced that.
Yeah.
It just kind of like reverberates.
Just a World Cup final in general is something I feel like I'd love to experience before I die. So I'll follow you on that one.
Yeah.
Anything else though, Chris, that you've been watching that's caught your eye?
Well, yeah. So you were laughing at me because this catch-up section is meant to be about, like, what we've done. And I've just put there the name of a trailer that I watched. And you're like, did you just watch a trailer? And put that down. Yes, I did just watch a trailer for Y: The Last Man. But I want to talk about it because Y: The Last Man is a series coming out in September on FX on Hulu or some shit like that. I don't fucking know. And the reason why it's so interesting to me is because it's based on a graphic novel that I am crazy keen on. It is such a good story, and I'm so happy that this has come out, that the trailer's been shown, and that is coming out like fucking next month. It's quality. For those who don't know, Y: The Last Man is about this happens in like the very first few pages of the graphic novel, and it's explicit in the trailer, so it's not spoiling much. But a virus takes over the world that basically kills anything with the Y chromosome, except for one man and one monkey, male monkey. And they're just kind of like, it's a post-apocalyptic story where all these women have kind of had to step up and take care of all these roles, but there's this one man, and he's kind of like, he's kind of chilling out. But eventually, you can imagine what it would relate to when a globe full of only women finds out that there's one man.
You say one man and one monkey.
Yeah.
Just to clarify, the man is not Dustin Hoffman, is it?
I mean, it might be a prequel. I don't know. Or,
could be.
Or a a sequel.
It's a prequel to AIDS. That's what it is.
We've made this joke.
The AIDS story.
I feel like we've made this story in the past 3 podcasts.
One man, one monkey.
One desire.
Jonesy, do you share that hype as someone who's familiar with the source material?
Yeah, I thought. You know, I seem to think it was going to be a movie, but then no. Chris is right. It was always going to be a TV show. I think I was misremembering, but I've read the graphic novel and I enjoyed it. I thought it was very good. The trailer looks cool. Although I don't have Hulu, so I don't know how I'm going to watch it. I'll have to.
Oh, I don't know how I'm going to watch it either.
We'll see somehow.
Damn dirty pirate.
We should know. Hey, we should get a VPN sponsor. Is what I'm saying.
Oh, that's a good idea. Then we can watch it. But yeah, it's a cool graphic novel, and but I'm gonna have to reread it because I can't remember. Or maybe I won't actually, because now I'll just ruin it, I suppose, for myself, so I can watch it.
Yeah, I'm with you. The last time I read that was like nigh on a decade ago. So yeah, maybe it's best forgotten. I remember the broad strokes, but yeah.
Yeah, a phrase often said of the best stories told. Maybe it's something best forgotten.
To experience again, you dillhole.
No, I get it. Well, Jonesy, if we know anything about Jonesy's gaming habits, he's very good at not remembering things to then experience them at a later date. So that might come in handy here. Who knows?
It is a talent. It's a talent that I've got.
Wow. Chris, was there anything else that you got up to this week, or is that it for your catch up?
I feel like you're trolling me now because that was quite an obvious way for you to go to Jonesy's catch up, and instead you brought it back to me purely so that I can say no, I don't have anything else. Just move on.
Moving on, Jonesy, what have you been playing?
Do you know what? I was quite lucky this week that I got to play a lot of stuff, but I'm not going to mention much of it because it was just like carrying on playing stuff I've already said before. But I did finish Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. Got the platinum for that today, so I was very,
platinum as well.
Happy about that.
I love it. I love it when Jonesy plays games because it's like he either goes halfway and then just fucking drops it for the rest of eternity, or he just fucking goes full ham and platinums it. I love it.
I feel like the some games though like lend themselves to getting like platinum quite easily. And I think, although to be fair, Ratchet and Clank's a bit weird like that. So one of the things that I thought was a little bit messy was trying to get the platinum. There's a number of trophies that you can only get when you start playing the game through again, which I was surprised at. But there's only a couple, so
standard fare.
No, I don't know. Most of them, I don't remember having to play through most.
Did you have to kill the T-Rexes again? Or kill more T-Rexes?
No.
That's one that I had to do.
No, you just have to reload the game and then you can unlock 2 additional weapons.
That was it, yeah.
And you also need to have leveled up the Void Repulsor to like level 7 or something in order to use a feature on it. So you have to play more of the game using that specific weapon, which is kind of weird because as soon as you've done it, which doesn't take that, it takes a few levels, like not that long. But they just seemed a little, I don't know, it seemed a little odd. Also, it kind of got me that I get why they're trying to get you to play like the Game Plus kind of stuff, the challenge mode what they've got. But it did kind of make me think there's a lot of stuff here that I would have liked to have played around with in the main story of the game. I don't necessarily want to play through it again.
Well, in terms of like weapons and upgrades and stuff.
Yeah, exactly. Like you could some of the additional levels and the Omega versions of the weapons you get, where you can get additional upgrades to them. It would have been nice to just be able to play around with them, but now I'm kind of over it. I'm like, I don't feel the need to go and play more of that game in the challenge mode, which means I'm not going to get to play some of that cool stuff. So
yeah, Spider-Man did that as well, right? Spider-Man and Miles Morales. So it was kind of like, extra suits in New Game Plus. It's like, just give it to me now.
Yeah, Returnal has a secret ending that requires you to play chunks of that game again, which was kind of a bummer considering how kind of cool that game's narrative was. But yeah, hashtag it's a Sony thing.
Yes, apparently it's a Sony thing. Really liked it though. I thought it was a very good game. Really enjoyed it. It was I did say that it potentially would be my game of the year. I don't know if it would be that, but it was very good. Very, very, very good game. If you haven't played it, go and play it. But I've also watched something.
Oh, yeah.
For that. Yeah, I started checking out Sweet Tooth on Netflix because I had good things about Sweet Tooth and I hadn't seen it yet. And so sort of bit the bullet. And that was cool. It was, if people haven't seen it, it's some weird post-apocalyptic thing where people get a virus and lots of them die.
Oh,
and
funny that.
But do you know what, there's a little thing that kind of struck me about Sweet Tooth, and maybe it's just me, but you know how people complain that politics shouldn't get into games and, you know, ruins games and when it's too heavy-handed, like politics in games. There is a weird thread in Sweet Tooth that maybe I'm just wrong, but it could be super on the nose when it comes to talking about like the environment and how kids are the future, and some of it just feels a little bit too much.
I think you read into that, right?
No, but
from what I understand,
there's obviously elements to that, but some of it is too obvious and too like shouted into your face. You almost think you're going to get Greta Thunberg coming at some point and be like, "You're ruining the world. Stop it."
Oh, is it kind of an environmentalist kind of vibe going on?
Wow.
There's just some sections of some of the episodes I've seen where they sort of get to the point where they go, like, people, rather than just alluding to it and you kind of get the impression that it's like, be positive for the environment, don't ruin the world. It's people going, my pub had told me that men took things and took too much and they ruined the world and now the world is fighting back and children are the future and all this. And I'm like, come on guys, rein the writing in. Like, you need to allude to stuff and give people the idea. You don't have to explicitly say it. Yeah. Like, it gets a bit preachy.
Be more subtle, right?
Be more subtle, exactly. Be more subtle. Yeah. But enjoying it though. It's cool. It's a good show so far.
Okay,
and
nice.
That is it for me.
That's one I've never seen, but like I looked up and saw the kid with, is it a spoiler to say? No, it's the poster. It's a kid with like antlers. Yeah. And I was like, I recognize that.
It looks
seen that
weird, man. Like some of that stuff just kind of, it freaks me out. It looks weird. Did you guys see the trailer for a movie called Lamb?
No.
This is the like the weird, like very sparse, like Icelandic horror film, right?
Yeah.
I did see this.
Is it a
thing,
lamb person?
It's a lamb baby. It's weird. No, it's like a half baby. It's the baby with a lamb's head.
To be fair, that is kind of sweet tooth.
Yeah, but it looks bizarre, dude. Like it's like more horror skewed, but in a very, like Jamie says, like sparse and subtle way. Maybe not so much by the end of the actual movie. Who knows? But yeah.
You wake up and it's on you, just nibbling your clothes.
Oh, but there's like a really weird scene where he's just like, because it's farmers, right? And there's this farmer walking through like this Icelandic countryside. It's probably not Iceland, it's probably wherever, but like a Scandinavian, let's just say. And he's holding this like shotgun, but he's holding his son's hand, and his son's like, this baby is like grown up to be like a toddler or a son or something. And it's wearing like a little blazer with like little shorts and socks and shit, but it's got a lamb's head, and it just looks fucking weird.
That is weird.
And you know it's going to turn out to be the devil.
I'm sure. Is that an A24 film, or have I made that up?
I think it is. I think it is.
It is.
Yeah.
Yes, there you go. I got confused as well because Chris, we haven't talked about this somehow on the podcast, but I'm sure you've like seen or heard that Nicolas Cage has somehow managed to like
he's
work
done
his
it
way
again.
into another genuinely critically acclaimed film.
Pig.
But this one's called Pig.
They should have called it French Pig.
Are you suggesting that
Pig.
Nicolas Cage shouldn't be able to get into a...
No, I'm just suggesting that nowadays, in terms of like ratio of good films to bad films, considering we were joking about that Five Nights at Freddy's thing like inside the last year, like it's still kind of interesting when he does something that people find genuinely good.
Yeah.
And what's fascinating about this is, unlike Mandy, where it's like, hey, what if you got Nick Cage to be crazy in a film that was kind of crazy? This is Nick Cage not being that crazy in a film that's not that crazy.
Yeah.
And he's apparently unreal.
Well, yeah,
so, like,
I was reading a very interesting article that was like a take on almost like his career, but through the lens of a review of Pig. And what they were saying is like, yes, he went to this point where he just kind of fucking accept any fucking job and any paycheck because of whatever. But what they said is like, what is undeniable is that he is the most charismatic thing in those movies. And the reason is because he acts in those movies. He is charismatic. He goes fucking full Nick Cage in those movies, even though the movies are let down or shit or whatever it is. But it's like...
So at least you can see Nicolas Cage being Nicolas Cage or going for it.
Yeah, they took a bit of a parallel, and they said, look at Bruce Willis's kind of latest career trajectory, where any movie that he's in now, good or bad, and usually they're bad, he seems like he's completely disinterested, and he doesn't give a shit, and he just is there for the paycheck. Whereas what this guy was saying was, when you look at Nick Cage, sure, it might be about money, but he still cares about his craft. Which is weird to say because, I mean, he is a fucking batshit crazy fucking dude. He's top of my list on that thing of saying, like, who would you like to have sit down at dinner with? Fucking, I would love it, honestly. Just me, him, and his cat with a bag of mushrooms or something. I don't fucking know.
It'd be a good laugh.
Yeah. I'm really glad that he's having this bit of a renaissance because I've always liked him. I've liked his hamminess. I've liked his craziness. And I do think he is a genuinely good actor when he wants to be.
Yeah. I feel like between Nick Cage and Brendan Fraser, the internet's kind of been like winning lately in terms of...
Brendan Fraser's going to work with Scorsese on his next film.
So Brendan Fraser has just been in Steven Soderbergh's latest film, the HBO Max exclusive No Sudden Move. He's the lead in Darren Aronofsky's next film, The Whale. And like Chris said, he's just been cast in Killers of the Flower Moon, which is Martin Scorsese's next huge budget epic film with fucking Leonardo DiCaprio. And
crazy.
Although I did see a video the other day where someone was slamming Scorsese for as a scene in his last one was at the Netflix, like
The Irishman.
The Irishman, that one, yeah. And I think it's De Niro like fake kicking some guy on the floor.
Oh, that was the worst.
It's old man De Niro.
Yeah,
yeah, and he's
old man De Niro made to look like super young De Niro, but his hand is all like fucking crippled and everything. But
then he's trying to kick someone, and if you watch the scene, like he doesn't even go anywhere near them. It looks so fake. And then I haven't seen the movie.
I'll be honest.
I saw that scene, I was like, wow.
Oh, I saw it in the cinema, buddy. Limited release, but I think it's less about the fact that it looked fake and more about the fact that it looked like an old man trying to kick the shit out of someone.
Right.
Because his hand, in the film where he's meant to be like in his 30s.
I said it wrong. Right? I might have said a bit of a faux pas word, sorry, but yeah, his hand is like arthritic almost, and it's like there's no hiding arthritis, right? Like you can digitally make someone look younger, but you can't like.
It's just that like the old man shuffle when they like walk or run.
You can't
doesn't look like a
you can't
spry young
calcify
lad.
bones with a computer. Okay.
Yeah.
Fascinating thing. I won't be able to remember the name of the channel now, which is annoying. I apologize. That's the missing link of the story. But there's a guy on YouTube who would do deep fakes, and one of the things he would do occasionally he would try and do deep fakes better than the original. And one of his videos went viral. Where he basically deep faked a young Robert De Niro and did it side by side with how they actually de-aged Robert De Niro, and his looked so much more better. He kept doing it, got to the point where he did his version of a surprise appearance in a popular TV show.
Spoiler free.
But basically, the company that produced or made the TV show that he made a video about, I think they've just hired him.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure.
They have.
So
good result.
Yeah,
that's great result. So there you go. If you're at a dead end, you got a PC with like a maybe 3 or 4 RTX 3090s all fucking daisy chained up or however it works, then get into deep faking and you may well get a job out of it. Do you know what you can't get a job out of? Trying to combat the cheater problem in Warzone. It turns out it's a bit of a dead end. This I don't know. That was. I'm going to be an early candidate for worst segue of the podcast. But basically, I was going to say that this week I have been trying to play Warzone, but a lot of it has been in vain. I don't know how much you guys have heard about it, but Warzone's been in like a weird place for a little while. Cheaters have been bad for a while. Warzone, for anyone who wonders, has never had anti-cheat in the entirety of its release.
No.
But it feels like it's getting to a breaking point for a lot of creators. And as is often the way with the internet nowadays, breaking point for a lot of creators means breaking point for a lot of players. Some of my favorite streamers, for example, and some of the biggest names on Twitch at the moment, who were Warzone players before, have all completely stopped, have been playing Apex Legends since the new season dropped. And I can now attest to, I have a group of friends. There used to be probably about 8 of us that would play on Warzone in rotation. I say 8 because I know that at our peak, we used to have 2 separate quads and we couldn't be in the same PlayStation parties because we could talk over each other. We're down to 3, and one of them has said they will stop if the next season doesn't do certain things.
I can see what's happening.
Yeah. So
Jamie doesn't have a clue.
It kind of. It is a bit of that. It is a bit of.
Let me tell you, Jamie. Just uninstall it. Okay. If they sort out the cheating, you can install it again. But the day that you uninstall Warzone will be the day that you feel a ton of weight lifted off your shoulders.
The funny thing is, I play a lot on PlayStation, so I don't deal directly with cheaters that much. We had a friend who was on PC who only stopped playing very recently, and having crossplay on created a bit of an issue.
Yeah.
But like, I'm also just not having as much fun with it as I used to. I think it just needs some new ideas. They need to fix some long-standing problems, and they need to keep it fresh. And that's something that Apex seems to be doing fairly well. And I played some Apex in the last week with Martin and with Steph, and then the second time with just Steph, and had a fucking blast. So
you see, I told you you'd enjoy it. It just takes a bit of time. Like I know you said, like there are things that Warzone does better, and it could still stand true. But the fact of the matter is, Apex is just a fun game.
God's honest truth. The night we played Apex, we were all sort of texting, and we were going to all jump on. Us and a few other boys, and I had just taken the piss out of you, Chris, because you were reluctant to play Rocket League.
Yeah.
And then the conversation switched to Apex Legends, and I didn't want to play Apex, but I didn't want to show myself up by vetoing Apex when I just teased you for vetoing Rocket League. So I was like, I'm
sure.
down. But it was good fun, and I got a win with me, Steph, and a random on the second day.
Nice.
A win.
Nice.
But you see what I mean? Like playing Apex, it might not be as tactical, even though it is a lot of tactics involved. And there is some bullshit in terms of like, especially if you go heavy into thinking about like the different types of armor. But one thing that is undeniable in Apex Legends is just how much fun it is to play that game.
It is fun. You can get bad luck. There's more RNG than there is in Warzone. and so like you get things where you just like we just got fucked. And Steph and I hit a point on the second day when we were playing on our own where we were talking to each other and we're just like, what are we doing wrong? Like we're doing something wrong.
Yeah.
With the first lobby we dropped in, we landed in the same place as someone else. We got killed and they fucking teabagged me. And I was like, who does in 2021, like who goes into a casual matchmaking of a battle royale duos at the level that we are at? So like casual matchmaking, and I don't know if there is skill-based matchmaking, but Steph and I basically had brand new accounts and teabags. Like who does that? And then we had a weird thing where we did try trios with a Phil and he was the jump master and he took us to this one place and about 8 teams landed there. And we were like, something's weird. Like we're missing the memo on something.
Missing the magic sauce, yeah.
Yeah, but we maybe you with the magic sauce, Chris. Maybe we need an Apex veteran.
I always am. Can I tell you when I was streaming Apex, you know what the whole kind of shtick that I had was? Is that I carry the carry.
You carry the carry.
I do all the stupid shit so the carry can shine. I carry the carry.
Put it this
Fair
way,
enough.
Jonesy. No ship would set sail without an anchor to drag them down at the end of the journey. Chris is the anchor that drags down the team.
It's called the sacrificial lamb strategy, where I run in, I get killed, they use all their bullets, and then you guys swoop in and clean up. It's easy.
They give away their position as well.
That's what Jonesy does in PvE. I remember playing Outriders with Jonesy, full on sacrificial lamb.
I love a bit of it.
Yeah.
But also, like I just remember playing Warzone with Steph, and he'd go off do his own thing, and then all of a sudden you just hear, and he's quiet for the whole time, and he just goes, "I'm done.
I'm dead.
I'm done."
Yeah.
To be fair, he was much better. Apex, probably because we were playing duos, it was just the two of us.
Yeah,
and maybe he also didn't want to invoke my wrath, but his comms were top notch. When we played the other day.
Hell yeah!
I can't I'd like
to play with you guys.
I can't wait. Honestly, I can't tell you how heartbroken I was because we were meant to play Apex, and then you guys were talking about Rocket League, and I was like, oh god, okay, I don't want to play Rocket League. And then by the time you guys decided to play Apex, I was like, it's too late for me. I can't.
Past your bedtime.
Yeah, that's how it goes sometimes.
Yeah. Tried to rope you in the day afterwards as well, but
no, but the day afterwards, I was going to Manchester.
Jonesy didn't even get a reply. Can you believe it? Didn't even get a reply.
What? From me?
From anyone. I put a message in a chat that had about 5 people in it saying Steph and I are playing Apex. One more? Question mark.
Oh, so I think it was a day that I was working till like 2 a.m. So I apologize. I uninstalled Warzone. I was very happy about it. I uninstalled it. I was like, let's get rid of this. But then Apex, I like Apex in some ways, but then I kind of find it hard to get into it. I don't really get that itch to play more that I kind of did with their Warzone. Maybe that'll change. Maybe I need to play some more.
Yeah, you've got to play it and you've got to get into the flow, the state of flow with the game. It's what I've mentioned before on the podcast. Once you get it, buddy, and you have a blast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Also just accepting that you suck, which is something like I did I feel like when I played it last time, and just kind of like feeling good about kills rather than wins and things like that, and getting out of that Warzone state of mind where like, oh, I dropped to 20. You can't really do that in Apex anymore. But yeah.
There's also the only thing Apex as well is like when if you get a random in your team, especially, and you want to play as like Bangalore or something, and then someone else takes them, and you're just like, fuck. What do I do now?
Especially because, I'm sorry, a little mini rant. There is no cross progression on Apex, so I can't take any of my PlayStation stuff over to PC, which is annoying for things like stats. It's annoying for not knowing where to buy the battle pass because I don't know it twice. But it's also annoying because that means I straight up just don't have some legends unlocked on PC.
Yep.
So I was launching the game and I was like, which of these 6 people am I going to be? I was like, I guess I'm going to be Lifeline or Bloodhound again. I can't be any of these cool motherfuckers like Octane.
Yeah.
But there we go.
I don't know if that will get fixed because crossplay came a while ago now. I feel like so. I
don't know. I think they got other things to fix before that because like you could still spawn in trios, but then just spawn with 2 people.
Yeah,
which is fucking
also apparently the new legend is kind of OP, and perhaps unsurprisingly, as we also always talk about with new characters. Right?
Exactly.
So. Yeah. Another game, by the way, that I still want one of you two, if not both of you two, to play with me at some point is the Ascent. Still on Game Pass.
I've installed it.
Do you know, we're making progress. Jonesy, I can tell by that noise that you haven't.
I haven't installed it yet.
This is a judgment-free zone. I feel like I need someone to
Have you found out how many players it is co-op?
I haven't found out for sure. I know it's at least 3, if not 4.
Hey,
because the Techno Over boys played it and they were streaming it.
Nice, nice.
Yeah, because if I try to play it again on my own, and I worry that game is going to go the same way as a weird comparison, I know, but Gears Tactics, like a game that I kind of knew existed, came out on Game Pass, downloaded it and installed it, checked it out, was overwhelmingly impressed at first blush by just like how good it looked and the level of detail and some of the gameplay, and then just with each passing week just had less and less reason to actually play it. And then before you know it's gone.
Like a candle in the wind.
Yeah, just like Princess Diana, my desire to play the Ascent. Princess Diana. My desire to play the Ascent is hurtling down a French tunnel. And is about to meet a very bloody end.
Wow, blood.
Known. Hang on. So we've done known murderers. What if we did known murderers, the Royal Family edition, and it was all about whether or not they actually killed Princess Diana?
I think you could still technically be executed in this country for that.
You probably could. Yeah, treason is like the only thing is to be hung for.
Imagine if we did a fucking what's that hacker guy called that Joseph Gordon-Levitt did a voice to pretend to be? He goes on Joe Rogan and he's got a mole on his neck.
Yeah, what Assange?
Hacker.
No, Edward Snowden.
The other one, Snowden. Imagine if we're in a Snowden situation, we're just being interviewed by RT because we live in a Russian airport in the future, and they're like, "Why do you guys live in a Russian airport?" It's like, "Well, we did a podcast where we alleged that Prince Charles murdered Princess Diana."
Even better, can you imagine?
We're
the only. Can you imagine? We're the only 3 people that have been hung for treason in the past 200 years or whatever.
You look at the Wikipedia article; it's just like Saddam Hussein, Alex Jones. I always forget that we hung that fucker. We filmed it as well.
Yeah, well,
I swear we didn't hang him.
Well, someone hung him.
The Iraqis hung him. We didn't do it.
We should have bloody done it.
Because the Americans handed him over to the Iraqis and they hung him.
Yeah, they found he was found guilty and they hung him. Yeah,
because they had that whole trial and everything where he looked like a cave baby.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, he did look a bit unkempt, didn't he? Unsurprising, really.
To be fair,
when you put it that way, Osama got lucky, really. Burial at sea, much more preferable. Geronimo. Anyway, speaking of,
what?
I'm trying to. I'm doing this one as I go. Speaking of, Zero Dark 30 has that's a film about Osama bin Laden, and it also has the word dark in it. And I tell you what, working for Activision Blizzard, you must be in a pretty dark place right about now. Am I right, boys?
Sure.
Yeah, you're not wrong.
No? Yeah. How are we feeling? Actually, peaks and troughs. You've had a few days off recently. Maybe you saw the family. Swings and roundabouts, as we say. But to actually put a bow on that segue and
listen,
the transition.
Jamie.
Yeah, I'm panicking.
Different needs, different drinks. And there are a lot of drinks in the Blizzard cubicle crawls.
Oh, there we go. It's Cosby o'clock, baby, because that's right. We'll get your Wellington boots back on because we're wading into the Blizzard swamp once again because, well, we did touch on this, let's be honest, somewhat sensitive topic last week. It has ended up being the gift that keeps on giving, which is actually, I probably shouldn't have called it that because this is a sensitive topic. We're talking about, fundamentally, we're talking about a company that has had a lawsuit placed against it for some pretty bad shit, like sexual harassment and abuse in the workplace and all kinds of other things of that nature.
What's the latest, Jamie? Let me pull you out of that swamp that you are wading into.
Thank you. Well, so we talked last week about how the employees of Activision Blizzard, following the lawsuit being filed, were taking some action themselves. We were seeing things like walkouts as they were demonstrating that they were clearly unhappy with the situation and it was time for change. One of the people that is maybe trying to institute change in some way, shape, or form, probably, is Bobby Kotick, who is kind of the CEO of Activision Blizzard, obviously comes from the Activision side and has some control. Whether or not he influenced this decision or not, it's hard to say. But one of the things that has happened in the last few days is that Blizzard president Allen Brack has left the company. Fairly big news, a fairly recognizable figure within Blizzard. If you've watched any sort of BlizzCon footage or anything like that over the last couple of years, or even just been reading articles, you've probably seen a picture and or video of his face and his long hair.
Ponytail.
Yeah. So he's gone.
Yeah.
He's gone. He's out. The company announced that the kind of the statement. The reason I kind of pussyfooted around how he actually went is the company statement was a little bit weird. It seems like,
dude, yeah, it was the whole thing. There was like two statements, right? An internal and a press release, and both of them were kind of strange.
Yeah, because it's they're obviously, I guess maybe for self-preservation reasons, they're not saying he's been ousted, that he hasn't been fired, for example. And in fact, I believe in his personal sort of testament as to what's going on, he used the usual stick about going on to, new adventures or whatever.
This is the thing. I don't think there has been an official one from him.
Maybe there hasn't. Maybe I'm getting my
feel
wires
like
crossed.
It was the public statement saying that J. Allen Brack is leaving to pursue other opportunities.
Maybe that was it. Maybe
right?
That's what I saw. I saw that quote and assumed it was
him.
Yeah.
Can I just say that the weird thing about it that really struck me was, and maybe rightly so, but in all of these things, like saying that former president at this stage, but J. Allen Brack is stepping down, there's always been a footnote in these things. And then they're just talking about the new leaders and how good they are and where they come from, blah, blah, blah. And like I said, maybe that was due because J. Allen Brack is named in the it's not court case, but whatever it is, I don't know what the term is.
The lawsuit.
The lawsuit. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for.
Legal, whatever it is.
Litigation. So fair enough. But it does also kind of feel like either they're just kind of using him as a bit of a scapegoat and then just kind of sweeping it under the rug, or he did some dodgy shit and they're just trying to sweep it under the rug that way. But watching a bunch of YouTubers talk about it who are a little bit more in the know than I am, they're just kind of saying yeah, of course he's gone. He was the president across two of the most abysmal years that Blizzard has ever had. If this was any other company, guess what? The person responsible for the company needs to go, and the board of directors will make that happen, right? Which is exactly what's happened here.
Well, because what they need to do now is they need to give the shareholders a sense that the company's sorting itself out and that they need to do damage control. So yeah, they need to get rid of him. And they can't have him sitting there, the share price tumbling, and they need to do something. And that's the most obvious thing, right?
And they had because they're a publicly traded company, they had a what's the term, a shares report call? What's the fucking my brain's turning to much
like a financial
so basically
I can't really call them.
Where all the
financial report.
Exactly right. And stakeholders would ask questions and stuff. We used to see it a lot with Nintendo and find out stuff from Nintendo from that with Iwata-san, R.I.P. But yeah, this was happening. This all happened in the space of the shares tumbled, and then Bobby Kotick got involved, and now and then they were going to have their share earnings call or whatever, and then J. Allen Brack's been axed. It's all happening very quickly.
Bit of a domino effect, maybe.
A bit of a coup, some might say.
Bit of a coup. And speaking of kind of coups, but also some conspiracy theories that one could try and muster through all of this, and again, take this all with a pinch of salt. But one thing that some onlookers are noting is what's happening with sort of Blizzard leadership, some of the titles that are kind of being thrown around, and the reason we mentioned Bobby Kotick, perhaps Bobby Kotick sort of furthering his reach and control over the Blizzard side of the organization, because, so for anyone that doesn't know, J. Allen Brack's predecessor was a man named Mike Morhaime, maybe a name you recognize.
Yeah.
He was the CEO of Blizzard Entertainment. By the time J. Allen Brack was put in charge, it's worth noting that Morhaime left. It seemed, at least partly at the time, due to his distaste for the way Kotick was behaving, sort of over the top of him.
Well, you could probably just say Activision, right?
Or just Activision, yeah, totally. And people, you might remember that Activision were the ones that went to Blizzard and said, hey, you need to make more games, you need to make them faster.
Yeah.
Morhaime left as CEO. J. Allen Brack took over as president. Now, J. Allen Brack himself has left, and Jen O'Neill and Mikey Barra have taken over. Their title in the statement so far, they've been referred to as co-leaders of Blizzard. So some people noting how we've gone from CEO to president to co-leaders, and perhaps looking at that as Bobby Kotick continuing to do what he's done, or admittedly, as Chris pointed out, over the last handful of years, exert more control over the Blizzard part of the company as he continues to look for ways for them to drive more profit with hot products like Warcraft 3 Reforged.
It seems like it won't be a year, and they'll both be called these co-leaders. Now will be assistants to Mr. Kotick.
Yeah,
and that's what it's just going to be.
Assistant to the regional manager. Again, so like, it's hard to know what's going on. It would be obviously, I'm not going to go full tinfoil hat and assume that Kotick is using all of this as a smokescreen to sort of like grab more land from underneath the Blizzard side of things. But it is probably, as if it wasn't already a difficult enough time to be an Activision Blizzard, especially a Blizzard employee with everything that's going on, to have so much sort of like confusion and rumor and hearsay going on around your leadership at a time where you're probably looking for assurance, you're looking for change, you're looking for a sign that, there's going to be a better future for a company that still so many people genuinely love. Must be difficult to take that much optimism from all of this. As like Bobby Kotick hasn't had his name thrown around as much when it's come to accusations of sexual harassment, sexual abuse, and so on and so forth. But by most accounts, probably not a great boss. So
there's something really interesting. Like I said, watching some of YouTubers more in the know. Here's a very interesting thing. So we got to remember at what kind of level Bobby Kotick is operating. He's operating right at the top, sorting out the shit that needs to be sorted out. In particular, he is beholden to no one other than the shareholders, right? Okay.
Yeah.
I want you to open up a quick Google tab. Okay.
Okay.
And just
doing it live.
Search Blizzard share price.
Blizzard
share price.
Share price.
Okay. And then it'll generate a graph, and it's got 1 day, 5 days.
Yes,
1 month,
I can
6
see all
months.
of this.
Click on max.
I can vouch. Max. Okay.
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 So explain this. Just explain what you see on the graph, but keep in mind that Activision Blizzard was founded in 2008.
So what I can see is that the share price gets a bump, it would seem, as a result of the merger, then settles back down in 2009. It stays fairly consistent. It grows a lot between 2013 all the way up to the mid of 2018, which I can maybe wonder if that's Blizzard starting to release games had an impact on that. I know that the games like Diablo 3, Hearthstone, Overwatch all came out kind of in that sort of period. There's a huge dip at the tail end of 2018.
Yeah.
Monumental dip going into 2019.
So that's going to be like your all the controversies, I guess, from last year. With,
the Blitzchung and all that kind of stuff.
And then it just
almost halves. Then it goes back up to, as we often see in these situations, above what it was at before the big drop. But it is now starting to come back down as a result of this.
So my point is this. And in terms of like the ratio of how much the graph has gone up since 2008. Let's say in 2008, you got like $16 per share. And at its peak this year, it went to like, what, 95?
101 in February. Well, I'm seeing 101 in February.
Yeah, $101 in February. Like, that is a monumental increase. It's funny because us gamers with a G who are kind of like in our own kind of world in a way, we think it's like the death knell of Blizzard, but like it's not going anywhere. It's going down now, and who's to say if it's going to bounce back?
It's not going anywhere. I don't think we're saying it's the death knell, but it's still a big impact for the company.
I think it's interesting to look at this perspective when you think of it. Like you think of the heyday of Blizzard and this, that, the other. It's like, there is shit happening. Like, I don't know. I just find it very interesting.
I feel like every time we try and read too much into share prices, they dip because we're all getting angry about something, and then they go back higher than they ever were before. They feel like, do you remember when EA were going through the Battlefront 2 saga, and everyone was like, the share prices, yeah, and everyone was going crazy. And then like 6 months later, they doubled from even where they were before the dip.
Yeah.
And it's like, companies keep getting bigger. I guess.
Yeah.
And it's also worth noting that, like, while Bobby Kotick hasn't been completely successful in his push to get Blizzard to release more games, because obviously Warcraft 3 Reforged came out, but the reception was not good. Their docket at the moment is pretty solid, with Diablo 4 in development, Overwatch 2 in development, and the mobile Diablo game, Diablo Immortal, is probably not too far away, but it just got delayed into 2022, right, Chris?
Yeah.
I think that, but at least they know, people have played it and they know what they're doing.
Yeah.
Right?
But in terms of Diablo 4, it has reached the internal milestone. So, and I believe Overwatch 2 as well reached an internal milestone.
Yeah. So like those will be big games, especially with sort of next gen compatibility and being on all platforms as they always are. So, but really, like, for as much as we could talk about games and we could talk about Kotick and release and share prices and stuff like that, ultimately this is a story about the employees of Activision Blizzard and their fight as a result of this lawsuit for better standards of work for everyone, but especially for all the horrible stories of women over the years who have had to face, workplace abuse or harassment and all these horrible stories. Unfortunately, it's not necessarily that the stories got worse or there were more reports, although that did happen as well in the last week for anyone that wants to go and look up any of that. But some of the people that have been surrounding this whole situation for the last week or two were making headlines once again, and it was a pretty poor look. One person in particular that I wanted to call out, and I just found the story, like, actually, I found much of this story kind of like almost stranger than fiction, but this was particularly outrageous. So there is an individual who I believe we brought up last week, at least in passing, called Fran Townsend, who is the CCO of Activision Blizzard. She was one of the people who made kind of a written response, a letter that addressed the lawsuit that was widely criticized, not just internally, but also by the fucking everyone who fucking read it. She was one of the people who was like, I'm really proud of how far we've come and the systems we got in place and the way we work with our employees. She was one of those people. She came under fire in the last week for tweeting an article from The Atlantic on, quote, the problem with whistleblowing. Not just a weird article to promote in general, but also just a fascinating time to do it. The story then gets weirder when some of her Blizzard employees notice that that's a strange article to be sharing at a time like this and comment or respond to her tweet, and she blocks them.
Oh, can I add to that? Because not only she blocked them, but she's also now deleted her Twitter.
So that's how the story ends. She has now deleted her Twitter. Activision Blizzard had confirmed that she is still with the company, but gamers have pushed her to delete her Twitter. And if you want a little bit of I'm not going to be able to do it justice because there's a tweet that does it so well. But if you want a little bit of like information on just how hard the gamers are kind of hitting Fran Townsend, she used to be the Homeland Security and Counterterrorism Advisor to President Bush, and was one of the people that there is video footage of her up there basically defending the US when it comes to torture and saying that the US don't torture people. And she managed to make it through that with her Twitter account unscathed, although she obviously wasn't using Twitter in the Bush era because Twitter wasn't around. But gamers have been the ones that pushed one of George Bush's torture apologists over the edge.
But I always think this is funny though, because we always think of people like this, right? She's the COO, and they wheeled her out to talk to people. Obviously, and we talked about last week how it seemed like they managed to go and find. We just need a female executive to make us not look as bad. But then there's no reason why she's going to be any more. Like we often talk about, you live in a bubble, right? So she's dealing with all that stuff. But I don't find it that surprising that a middle-aged, very wealthy woman who, is dealing with this from an executive perspective is so dumb to like this being a really bad idea. I don't find it that surprising because I reckon someone said that she's probably been having a coffee at some ridiculously expensive coffee bar and her friend's gone, I just read a great article in The Atlantic about why whistleblowing is a bad idea. And she's gone and read it and gone, they make some great points. I wonder if the Activision Blizzard employees have read this, and she's like retweeted it.
Yeah.
And then what do you do? She has to get to damage control because then the employees are like, "What have you done?" So she starts blocking them, probably thinking, "Well, no one's going to know that I've blocked them." And then it just all comes like after that.
You know what it feels like? It feels like, to kind of carry on with the theme of this episode of like bringing up things that we've spoken about in the past 3 episodes. But she's going through the Principal Skinner thing, isn't she?
Yeah.
She's not out of touch. It's the employees.
Straight denial. But just a fascinating denial.
This is so bizarre. Like, honestly, it's a lot of the accusations that have come out, like, they've been really weird, but you can kind of, I don't know, you could probably plot a path and like understand how it got to such a bad point. And then just kind of like have this happen. It's so fucking bizarre. It is so bizarre.
Yeah, it does feel like a situation that we, for better or for worse, haven't heard the last of. Obviously, the lawsuit itself continues. I'm sure the thoughts and testimonies and opinions of current and past Activision Blizzard employees will continue to pour out, and who knows, maybe we will get more horrific public statements from senior figures within the company or management, and maybe more of them will leave or get fired or somewhere in between the two, and we'll never quite find out. One thing's for sure, though, is that if anything kind of moves the needle on this kind of stuff and gets people moving and gets things loose and fluid, it's when money's involved. And as one last closing note for all of this, advertisers, companies, the people who pay the big bucks are unsurprisingly starting to notice State Farm are pulling their ads from the Overwatch League. And this is a big one. Brace yourself. Coca-Cola say they are, quote, revisiting their plans with Blizzard. Chris, no. I don't know how much you could divulge, but I feel like no. Nothing.
T-Mobile's also pulled out.
So yeah, I feel like when money starts to go, heads start to roll. So
I think there'll be further shakeups in terms of the leadership for sure.
Yeah, I doubt this is the last.
Fran's not long for Activision Blizzard.
Do we think Fran's gone by this time next week, or do you think they just put her in hiding?
I think they're going to kill her and keep wheeling her out like Weekend at Bernie's.
I think Fran will be gone. Yeah, I think gone. I'm going to say she'll be gone.
I don't think she will, because I hate to say this because it's going to sound really bad, but I think it would be really poor form for the company to get rid of one of the probably few C-suite executives that is female in the company.
But they'll just come out and say Fran's just pursuing other opportunities.
As long as they can replace her with Fran 2.0, like Fron. Oh, we got rid of Fran, now we got Fron. Then it'll be okay. Yeah. But yeah, I think, I don't know. If they do oust her, they'll be very quiet about it, I think.
Turns out Fran, actually short for Francis, was a man all along, guys.
Francis. It was Francis all along.
It was Francis all along. But
poor Boogie.
Yeah, it does seem like this probably won't be the last time we wade into the Blizzard Swamp, as we've named it. But
yeah, let's.
No. This isn't a segue. This is a bow. This is a bow, not a segue.
I was waiting for that because I'd love to know how this segue is going to work out.
Oh, do you know what? I just thought of a great one, but I'm not going to be a Chris, and I'm not going to ruin it.
Oh no, Jonesy, what do I need to say to tee you up for it?
No, I was going to. I have no idea. I'm not. I'll just let you do it.
I want to hear it.
It's not that good. I'll tell you after.
Oh, God.
Okay, fine. As long as you promise to tell me after. I was just going to put a bow on it and say, of course, we will keep anyone and everyone up to date if there are any more stories from Tales from the Swamp as far as Blizzard go.
That's our new Patreon exclusive.
Tales from the Swamp.
But obviously, like, I don't know, it's one of those stories where, like, you don't want to go back to it too often if you don't have to, because obviously it is quite heavy and there's, sensitive subjects involved that are wrapped up in all of it. But at the same time, news is news, and that's what we're here for, right, boys?
Hell yeah, you can't stop the journalists within us.
Exactly. And you know the other thing you can't stop, Chris?
Tell me, Jamie.
Technology. It just keeps on progressing. Everything's getting smaller. Everything's getting faster. Yeah, well, things are changing. Change is afoot. And you know what? Sometimes I just feel like I want to escape it all. I want to escape it all.
You want a new reality?
No, Chris. Unlike JK or Jamiroquai, I want a virtual insanity. And one of the ways one might acquire a virtual insanity is through the means of virtual reality.
Wow.
Yeah? No? Thoughts?
No.
Out of 10?
Interesting. 6 for it being interesting.
I'll give it a 2 out of 10.
Yeah.
Like the 2 in PSVR 2. Did it for you.
That was a 4 out of 10. Yeah. Anyway, PlayStation VR 2. It's a thing. So I guess let's roll it back. PlayStation VR 2. It's the sequel. Can you call technology sequels? Can you call a physical piece of kit a sequel?
I don't know. Maybe not.
It's the follow-up.
Next iteration, follow-up, yeah.
It's the next iteration of the of PlayStation VR, which was the headset, and they didn't actually release new handsets that came out a couple of years ago that were compatible with the PlayStation 4. Sony confirmed sometime this year or last year, I can't even remember when, that there would be a follow-up, and we now have some more information on it, courtesy of a developer summit. I don't know what that means, but every time I hear the word summit, I always imagine that it's a meeting that happens at the top of a mountain. So I just think,
that's exactly what it is. It's a hotel on top of a mountain where you meet up and have a summit.
Yeah,
there you go. Kind of like a James Bond style. Yeah, like a base at the top of like the Alps, and everyone has to ski their way back down to civilization.
Exactly.
Yes. Anyway, so we do have some new information because whether it was meant to or not, details did emerge from this summit. I'll roll through some of them pretty quickly because there's some sort of fairly tech-heavy words here, and there's some numbers and there's some stats. I don't know how much of it means anything, so I'll just rattle it off. First of all, its codename is NGVR, which presumably stands for Next Gen VR as opposed to PlayStation VR 2. Maybe we need to update the way we refer to it, NGVR, from now on. Almost definitely we'll forget, but there we go. HDR OLED displays with a resolution of 2000 by 2040 per eye. Is that high? If I were a good podcast host, I'd have done my research and I'd be able to tell you I don't have a clue. Those numbers.
Can I jump in here?
It's good, yeah. It's good per eye, yeah.
Can I jump in here? I don't fucking believe this for 1 fucking second.
Why?
Chris, good point. This is a rumor, but Jonesy, yeah. Why? Yeah.
Why don't you believe it?
All right. Okay. An HDR OLED panel, okay, with a resolution of 2000 by 2040 per eye. So you're having 2 of those HDR OLED panels, okay? First of all, in a device, so there's a couple of things to unpack here. First of all, you need, so that's like what if you add them all together, you're looking at like 8K resolution almost, right? So you need a system powerful enough to push through this. I know later on you're going to talk about perhaps a way that they could power this kind of resolution. However, what is the cost of this fucking PSVR going to be? What is the cost, fellas?
That was not mentioned at the developer summit.
Because think about this much, okay? A Switch OLED, which doesn't have any HDR, and I believe is still only 720, okay, is adding $50 to the price of the base Switch. Okay.
Well, here you go. So the Oculus Quest is an OLED, which is 1440 by 1600 per eye.
Okay. Is it HDR
OLED? It doesn't say. It says it's pentile OLED. I don't know what pentile OLED is.
Yeah,
but then
fine. But like
I don't necessarily think that going to HDR is a big thing because it's not out yet. I don't think that's a game changer.
Yeah, that's fair. But I just
the Quest. How much is the Quest? Let me see how much.
I think it's like $250 or pounds.
It comes in various sizes, right? It depends on the internal storage.
Yeah, but it's less about the storage because storage is like cheapest chips, right?
Yeah, but they still charge you a bloody fortune for it.
Yeah, that's the other thing that they mark it up.
But I just don't understand.
So you took a 350. Well, one here for 250, one for 350. Okay, they're going to price this at about 300 quid, and I think if it's not coming out until 2023 or something like that, I don't think that's that ridiculous. I mean, it's not insurmountable in the way that you're going.
You know what? When the Switch Pro rumors were fucking flying about, and I was like, I'm not sure about that. How are they going to hit the price point? And you guys like, look what fucking happened. It's just it's a nothing. It's a nothing.
Well,
I have serious trouble believing this. I hope I'm wrong. But I do have trouble believing it.
But in that case, let me get your thoughts on the insurmountability of the remainder of the the so-called specs, in case any of them also raise red flags. FOV of 110. I don't know what the original PSVR was, but I know that that's an improvement. One of the things that you mentioned or referenced earlier, Chris, and this is where some of the tech words come in. So brace yourself if you suffer from, like, if you get strokes or epileptic fits or anything like that. This apparently uses flexible scaling resolution in addition to foveated rendering used in conjunction with eye tracking. Basically, it aims to scale resolution based on the user's concentrated view, i.e. things that it knows you're looking at will be higher resolution than things it knows you're not looking at, which is a way of not putting too much strain on the old PlayStation 5. We, of course, know that there are going to be new controllers. Those are the things we have seen. There are pictures of them. You can go look them up. They will be packaged with every NGVR headset at launch. That's not that much of a surprise. We also know that it will have capacitive touch sensors, which are analog-based and can track the distance between your fingers and thumb. I don't know what this will be good for, but I presume it just means we can continue to either give people a thumbs up or make finger guns in games, or as Chris is kindly showing video watchers of this podcast, potentially masturbate. We're talking about the potential of.
Well, I think the biggest thing about the tracking the distance is, if you think about the original, like what's it even called? I've bloody got one. I can't remember what it's called.
Robo Recall.
No, not the Oculus. The other
Space
one.
Pirate Trainer.
The Vive. The Vive.
HTC.
With the Vive, you could almost have you could have like a finger up or a finger down, and it couldn't really track where your hands were. But then obviously the next gen was that they could then start to track where your fingers are. So I guess what they're now saying that with this, they're going to be able to have you almost like real time finger tracking to know where your fingers are and what they're doing, as opposed to like definite positions, which is cool.
Which okay. So just to jump in again, so you've got eye tracking with all this tech, and you've got these like super fancy controllers, which is all cool. But again, ups the price, fellas.
It does, for sure. It does up the price. It does
up the price. Yeah. One last note, I guess, which is actually less about the hardware itself and more about Sony's vision for the future of VR on their platform. It said that they want to move away from quote-unquote VR experiences and concentrate more on AAA games with an aim to make hybrid games that are playable in both flat screen and VR. Examples of that from the PlayStation VR include games like Resident Evil
7.
Yeah, so I'm getting my numbers right. Elder Scrolls Skyrim. I believe Fallout 4, was that eventually a thing? I don't know if it's on PSVR.
No, Skyrim was a particular VR version, wasn't it? It wasn't like a hybrid one.
I think you're right, actually.
Yeah,
but
Fallout 4 had a
but it was still kind of like a port of the full experience, I guess.
I think Hitman had it as well.
You're right, Hitman 3. Hitman 3, the most recent one, yeah.
Yeah.
Because that was one of the ones where I think it was like PSVR only or something weird like that. And it was on PS5, and it was very strange how you got it all wired up. But yeah, interesting that clearly they think now is the time to get people away from doing the luge or floating in a shark tank.
Yeah, it's got to be right. Like
and playing games.
If you want VR to kind of really take off and really be mainstream, you've got to move away from VR experiences.
Totally.
There's a weird thing. This is because one of the things about VR though, especially with the PlayStation, is having played a game like Ratchet and Clank, like just finished. There are sections of that game where I would be like, I would love to just see what that was like in VR. Or I'd love to be able to look around that world in 3D and kind of experience it. But I'm not going to buy a standalone Ratchet and Clank VR experience just so that I can have a little go, because it's going to be expensive. It's not going to be worth it. But if you could say to me, you don't have to play the whole game like that. You can have as much fun as you like, playing the game as is, but you can pop the headset on and you can still have the same perspective, but you can look around and you can still control Rivet and Ratchet, and you can do, that'd be, I'd love to do that. Yeah. That's exactly the sort of thing I want to be hearing from Sony.
What comes to mind immediately there is the work that Asobi Studio do in Japan, where obviously they released Astro's Playroom to critical acclaim as a packet with the PlayStation 5. But prior to that, they made a VR Astro game, which is kind of what you were talking about, Jones. It was a 3D platformer where you could, move your head around and look around corners and find secrets for Astro to get.
Yeah, we played it, didn't we? At the where was it called? The underground
game dungeon.
The game dungeon. Yeah, no, exactly. And I really enjoyed that, and I thought it was a great use of of VR in a different way. Although it still did have VR, like you'd still need to use VR, because if I remember rightly, you had to like reach out and grab things and move them around.
I think that was a VR only game in that particular one.
But that it's definitely that is definitely something that makes me think about games like Ratchet and Clank, that third person sort of platform with a lot of colors that are very vivid games. Whereas it worked so well in the game that we played with the VR that I'm like, yeah, you can absolutely make hybrid games like that. You don't need to say, hey, this is going to be a complete VR experience, because usually if they're not free, then people don't play them. Really, realistically.
Here's a question. And look, this might be slightly optimistic of me, but I'm going to pitch it anyway. I might make myself look stupid, but I'm willing to go there. If you are whoever it has to be, Jim Ryan, Herman Holst, I don't even know who has to make that phone call, but if you are one of them and you pick up the phone and you dial in 0800 VALVE, Gabe picks up and you say, Gabe, blank check, I need Half-Life Alyx on the PlayStation 5. What do you think Gabe says?
Yeah.
No.
Wow.
Does he have like an eclair in his mouth while he's answering?
No, you can't have it.
Maybe, I don't know.
I reckon he does.
Because like he is very much one of those sort of like, hey, for the gamers, let people play things kind of guys. But at the same time, like, does he kind of want people more? Does he also want people in the PC space? He wants people buying Valve indexes. He wants people spending crazy amount of money getting in. I don't know. It's a tough one, right?
Yeah, it is weird because Valve and Gabe are all about open this and open source and blah blah blah, and they've obviously got this massive push for VR.
But do they really want to help Sony in that journey?
Yeah, but then again, you're saying, do they really want to help Sony on the journey in a 2-year-old game? Potentially at that stage, 3 to 4 to 5-year-old game? Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you still got an entire console generation who would probably play it.
Yeah, and if it becomes the killer app for PSVR 2, that we could be talking about millions of additional sales.
Yeah, but what if it's a case of saying they release it on PSVR 2 and then they release Half-Life Alyx 2 on PC only, baby?
Oof, you just reminded me that I haven't finished
me too.
Half-Life Alyx. I need to like get back in.
It's
I
too
haven't
much
played VR for such a long time.
exactly. It's too much of a barrier to just kind of get set up, man.
Here's the other thing that I'm thinking though is like, obviously without going into like spoilers or specifics, like there are reasons to believe there will be more titles in the Half-Life franchise or the Half-Life series. How tied are Valve to remaining on the VR path? If they are, for example, going to at one point in time put the number 3 on the end of a Half-Life game, which without going into details, I think is plausible.
Yeah,
I 100% think is plausible. Do you want that to be a traditional Half-Life experience? And if so, do you then want Half-Life Alyx in as many hands as possible? Because, hey, Half-Life 3 is coming out on the PS5. I'm just spitballing.
Can I tell you the one thing I've learned about Half-Life throughout all of the build-up to Half-Life 3 and eventually what we get in Half-Life Alyx is that it doesn't matter what you want, because it's only going to happen when Gabe wants it to happen and how Gabe wants it to happen. So you just get along for the fucking roller coaster ride.
I tell you what's funny though, because in a way, like you've almost hit on a thing that Sony have realized is, so Half-Life Alyx comes out and everyone's like, is it Half-Life 3? Like, no, it's Half-Life Alyx. It's a standalone VR thing. It's not, you don't need to, it doesn't even have to invoke Half-Life 3. But at the same time, if you released that as a game that didn't require VR, people would have been biting your hands off to get hold of that. Like, they would have been all over it. And I think that's one of the things that Sony have realized is that the idea of VR is you need to stop that sort of delineation. You need to just have games and people can play them how they want to play them, which I think is the way to go. I think it's pretty cool.
Does sound like that's something they are going into this new generation of VR technology with a bit more awareness of. But before I skip along, are either of you two actually seen the ending to Half-Life Alyx yet?
I caved and I did see it. Yeah,
did you?
You did cave. Okay, so you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, but I mean, like, I kind of had it.
I don't even play that series, but that's fucking cool.
Yeah, I kind of had it spoiled for me through like thumbnails, obviously around the time. Thumbnails on YouTube.
Okay. Yeah,
but that only tells it.
It's
one portion of a bigger whole. But
totally.
That bigger hole.
Emphasis on the hole.
the big hole. Don't worry, Jonesy, it's not spoiled, but I'll say the big hole is very, very fucking clever of them.
and it's a hole that needs filling ASAP.
Oh, I'm throbbing and ready.
You can't not fill that hole.
I told you, I'm throbbing and I'm ready. So I'm engorged. Let's get it going.
Wow.
Yeah.
Speaking of big holes that need filling,
Jesus, where's this?
I see. Do you know what? No, I keep doing it where I'm like, right, just say the first part of it, and then your brain will think of the rest. But then the brain doesn't do it. The brain doesn't do it.
I like it.
I have a big hole in my heart
Jamie,
from my childhood.
Listen, Jamie.
Okay.
Just don't abandon your quest for the greatest segue ever. All right.
That's more or less where I was going with it. I was going to bring in sort of like childhood abandonment and running away from home and layers to the story that really didn't need to be involved. So kind of glad you stepped in there. Jonesy, I wish you'd taken the same initiative earlier. Just cut me off while you had the chance.
Sometimes he just needs a nudge.
Yeah.
Gentle
kick.
Yeah. Someone else that needs a gentle kick? Hassan Karaman of Blue Box Studios. I don't know why. But hey, that's the way segues work, right?
Because he doesn't exist. Because he's a Fox. He's a Fox engine creation.
He's a Fox engine creation that's deep faked. He's voiced by Kiefer Sutherland, and he will come too. That's right. Believe it or not, Abandon still won't go away. I will say that this week's news is not quite as big or juicy or revelatory as it has been in recent weeks, but Abandon has still managed to make headlines because at this point, if Hassan just tweets, someone's going to write about it. So if they're writing about it, we can talk about it. And that's what we're here to do. The story, to be specific, though, revolves around some screenshots that emerged this week that were said to be of the game in question, Abandoned. They emerged initially, seemingly from Hassan's own profile, where, a lot of them, the pictures kind of came out. They actually had the PSN kind of surrounding banner and like Hassan's profile name there. Very odd. Fortunately, Hassan was quick to jump on Twitter and acknowledge that they were in fact real, but there was more to the screenshots that met the eye because they were not from Abandoned as it's being worked on now or some like pre-release thing or anything to do with the trailer app that you can still pre-install. They were in fact from a 2019 version of the game that, in Hassan's view, was designed to test the PS4's max power. Now, why Hassan decided to make a game that he wanted to use to test the PS4's max power, I don't know, but he did it. He designed a version of Abandoned that used 8K textures and was trying to run at 4K and 60 frames a second on a PS4 Pro. Surprise, surprise, spoiler alert, it didn't work, and that was apparently what inspired Hassan to push the game to the PlayStation 5 because it needed that next-gen oomph. So I guess to you boys, and Josie, maybe I'll start with you. I have two questions. One, why does this all sound complete bullshit? And two, were Hassan and Blue Box really making a version of this game with 8K textures 2 years ago when we already know all that other bullshit about abandoned Steam games and Greenlight and failed Kickstarters? Like, Abandoned wasn't in development 2 years ago. Come on. They used fucking bought assets in their trailer. They weren't making this game 2 years ago.
Yes, they were.
Anyway.
Yes, they were. They've been making a game which was gonna become Abandoned, and they've probably been doing it for 10 years because they are not Kojima and they are not Konami and they're not any of this. They are a small group of developers making a game, and like, do you know what it's similar to? It'll be like when someone creates their first album, right? They spend years making their first album and they use bits of songs and stuff and they put them together and they reuse things and they redo it. Did Hassan Karaman use some of that game in order to try and push a PlayStation 4 to its limit? Of course he did, because he didn't really know what he was doing, and he was like, fuck it, 8K textures, let's go 60 frames, 4K, let's do it, let's see if it can run. But then somebody probably came to him afterwards and was like, dude, this is pointless, what are you doing? Like, you don't need to do that for this game, you can just make it. And he was like, no, it will. And do you know how I know? Because I've been there, I've done that, I've seen people do it, I've seen people make videos using stupid like levels of resolutions and qualities and things when you're just like, calm down, you don't need to do this, just focus on making the game, focus on making it good.
But to clarify,
so I think this is all true.
You think this is all true? You think Abandoned was in serious development in 2019?
No. I think a game. I think they were in production of a game that they didn't really know what was going to go, and that game or parts of that game have become abandoned. And that is what they're talking about now. So are the shots of Abandoned? Yes, they may well be things that you will see in Abandoned. Are they, at the time, was that game called Abandoned? No, probably not. It was probably called A Trip to the Woods or something stupid, or like a dark night in...
The working title was Blair Witch. It just,
no, it was actually the working title was One Night in Paris.
Okay, yeah, I get you.
Yeah.
Do you know what it's okay to me? It's like almost like a student filmmaker goes out and films in the woods, and they're like, "Oh, this is
actually,
this is exactly
using a fucking Arri Alexa, like
they rented for one day with the entirety of their budget.
No, but you absolutely nailed it. They've got a camera that they don't need to go and film in low light in the middle of the woods because they're convinced that they need like the most expensive prime lens that their uni has, and then they go and they film it, and everyone's like, "You've overdone the shit out of this, mate. You didn't. You could have gone and have a camera."
Like, where's the story? No, but look at those trees, mate.
But then snippets of that become the Blair Witch Project later down the line, because they're like, actually, the holding the camera when all the snot was coming out my nose was quite effective. So we're going to reuse that shot for Blair Witch. That's what.
Wow. Interesting. Wow. Interesting. Chris, are you as sort of like confident as Jonesy that back in 2019, Hassan and whatever the semblance of the Blue Box team was at the time were making something that has kind of fumbled together to become Abandoned, or is this him diverting attention away from something else? Is this where's your head at with all of this?
Okay, I think what Jonesy says makes sense, not necessarily for Blue Box, but in general. Like people test stuff a lot in terms of like gaming and iteration. Usually not like an indie company with their first fucking game, but sure, whatever. But like if I think of there was a game developer, what was his name? Hideo Kojima, when he was looking for an engine for Kojima Productions, it took him like fucking a year and a half because he was traveling the world, taking Instagram shots, blah, blah, blah. Oh, I'm going to try this engine. I'm going to try that engine. I'm going to test. I'm going to spend all the money. And then eventually he settled on the Decima engine, right? So in terms of that, like, yeah, I think Josie's absolutely right. Like these things do happen, and stranger things have happened beyond saying, a games company that's doing their first game to do this. What fails me is kind of the logic behind what's happened here from what Hassan says. PS4 Pro comes out. As a developer, you're going to play some games on the PS4 if you don't have a dev kit. And you're going to see where the power lies. You're going to load up a game. You're going to see how it runs. You're going to say, this can't even run 4K. And at that point, you don't start using 8K textures.
No, exactly.
I don't care how much you vertical slice your shit. You don't use 8K textures because there's no need.
There's literally no lead.
Why would they fuck the resolution of the textures as well? Like games weren't running successfully at 4K 60 on the PS4 Pro.
No,
Hassan in 2019 did not need to take it upon himself to experiment with that.
No, but
it just doesn't. He's either an idiot or a liar.
I think we've already answered that question.
Or an auteur.
He's the former.
Yeah, or he's an auteur, a visionary. Like
I don't know,
Kojima. It's fucking Hideo Kojima, fellas. I don't know how week in, week out. I tell you this.
But like
he's not.
The thing about Hideo Kojima is Hideo Kojima can be whatever Hideo Kojima wants to be, because at any point in his entire career for the past 3 decades almost, he's been surrounded by hundreds, if not thousands, of extremely talented people who can translate his whack job ideas and visions into somewhat cohesive, memorable gaming experiences. Hassan doesn't have that.
No, but Hassan's not like. Hassan's not real.
Exactly. Which is why Hassan, and it's not fair, I shouldn't call him, I didn't mean he was an idiot, but it was kind of stupid to go out and try and make a 60 frame game, a game at 60 frames a second in 4K using 8K textures. Did he do it? Of course he did, because he was like, do you know what? Abandon needs to look amazing. And no one said to him, dude, even if you manage to get it running at 4K, the 8K textures aren't going to fucking display because they're 8K. You don't need that.
And you know what? Jonesy using the kind of the kids going out to the forest with Arri Alexa kind of thing does track, because like Hassan thinking like, oh no man, I've got to wait for the PS5 before I can make Abandoned, is exactly what happens with sort of like young and especially first-time creatives, where like you'll go up to someone and say, oh, like, and they'll be like, oh, I've got an amazing idea for a short film, and you're like, oh, why don't you make it? It's like, I'm waiting to buy a camera, and you're like, oh, cool, like, what's your budget? Like, you're saving up a few £100 to get something, cheap to jump in. And they're like, no, I've got my eyes on this £20,000 camera. It will take me 7 years to save up for it to make my first ever short film. And you're like, you got the idea, just
make the film.
That's the idea, just make the thing. Like you're procrastinating by letting yourself believe that it's the technology that's inhibiting your ability to be creative. And maybe that's the trap that Hassan got caught in, until apparently fucking money came from somewhere and he was bringing on 7 different auxiliary studios to make assets from it, when they usually make assets for triple or what some would call quadruple A games. And yeah.
It's fucking Kojima.
What a story! What a story!
Where do you lie on it, Jamie?
I mean,
like as the stuff has progressed, like,
well,
are you coming more around to my Kojima thing, or
no?
And I'm starting to get a little bit more skewed. Is it the Konami thing?
I gotta say, where do I stand on it is not as simple a question as is it Kojima. My answer to the question, is it Kojima, is no.
Okay, is it fucking Hassan Karaman?
In a roundabout way, yes.
Okay.
Do you think there's more to it?
Is Hassan Karaman a real person?
I feel like Jonesy is an atheist. Chris is down on his knees, and I'm like an agnostic. And I'm like, there's something, but it's not that.
That's a good analogy. I like that. That's very good. I don't know if you guys checked, but actually, I had I weirdly, as I was finishing up some Ratchet, popped on my little card newsy thing at the bottom.
Oh,
no. And it said, oh, you've got updates for stuff you've looked at recently. And one of them was the Abandoned app with an update saying the trailer's coming on the 10th of August. So we have only got, obviously, when this goes up, which will be the 6th, we've only got 4 days. So it'll be before the next podcast that we should have actually seen the trailer for Abandoned, the real-time trailer in the app.
And can I tell you now, I'm going to put my prediction. We're not going to be any wiser when it drops. I'll tell you that.
Oh, I was going to say, do you think it will be revealed in the trailer?
I'm putting my bets on saying we're going to be none the wiser. There's not going to be any reveal. It's not going to be a Konami thing or a Kojima thing. It's just going to be a blue box. But that's not going to change my position.
Something else fun to think about. Hassan obviously talking about some Abandoned stuff happening in August. Also happening in August, opening night live over at Gamescom, hosted by the one and only Jeff Keighley. Interesting, looking at the Game Awards, also run by Jeff Keighley. Their Twitter, they recently actually put out a tweet to celebrate the 18-year anniversary of a little game called Silent Hill 3. I don't know if any of you guys recall any of the characters from Silent Hill 3 and whether or not they may or may not have popped up on the Instagram feeds of any famous Hollywood actors who may or may not have worked with Hideo Kojima in the past. It's just one of those weird things.
It's fucking Hideo Kojima. Like,
I think the problem is with the internet.
Crazy balls here?
Yes, I think the problem with the internet is because there's so much out there, you can find things to back up any theory. Like you genuinely can. And when you
what's the name for that? Like, there's a name for it. Like when you look for something to reaffirm something you believe, and then there you go.
Yeah. It almost becomes like numerology, right? It almost becomes like, because you just look around for things to say, to prove to you. Don't get me wrong. If the first trailer is just Hideo Kojima standing like, or it's a pyramid head or whatever, then I'll be like, okay, they've done such a good job of pushing this. But there's no way it is. It is Blue Box. It is Hassan Karaman. He's real. He's not a deep fake. And they're making a little game called Abandoned. And do you know, it's probably going to be a fun little indie horror game.
I don't even think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a janky, bad, independent horror game that sets the world, or at least the internet, on fire, because everyone's like, you strung us along. You lied to us. You made us believe it was this, that, and the other. And then the Sam puts his hands up and says, find me when I ever said that any of that was true. And then all the people like Chris would go, well, you didn't, but you strongly implied it.
I don't know. Do you think it would be worse in a way, I think if it comes out, if the game actually releases, not the trailers, but if the game comes out and it was like a bit of a janky mess, right? Then that will just, more people will double down, saying that it is all like a big thing and that was on purpose. It was a janky mess on purpose. If it comes out,
right, and they'll believe it's almost like a decoy game that's like acting as a smokescreen for something else.
Yes. Whereas if it comes out and it's an okay horror indie game, people will be really annoyed because they'll just know it was just a game. But if it comes out really bad and really janky and really shit, people will go, "Oh, it's even deeper than we could possibly have thought." It's
I'm sure there will be some
deal.
I'm sure there will be something like that, but
yeah, there's one sitting watching the screen right now.
I think that's the station where I would get off. I'd say,
right,
I'm not riding this train anymore. But like, if it happens, it happens. Like, I'm not gonna be angry if it is just the blue box thing because I'm enjoying the ride. But I'm telling you
Totally.
now, it's fucking Kojima.
There we go. Well, I'm enjoying the ride as well, and the good thing is the ride won't end anytime soon. And if Hassan sticks to his dates, guys, we may well have more updates to bring you this time next week for the next episode of the Super Show podcast. All the more reason to make sure you're tuning in then. And hey, if you need a little reminder, a little prompt to let you know when we've dropped a new episode, if you're watching us on YouTube, you can subscribe to the YouTube channel. If you listen to us on podcasting platforms, you can maybe subscribe to feeds. I don't really know how that works, or just follow them. Probably different on a per platform basis. You can figure it out.
Yeah.
That's the power of self-discovery.
Subscribe to our RSS feed. It's
I know that's a thing. Like, I think that's a way that some people make premium podcasts, quote unquote. Is the
we've got an RSS feed.
Oh,
I set it up, but I have no idea. I've
heard about them for years, but I have no idea what they are or what they do.
I think Spotify just has a follow button, and to be honest, that's where I do all my podcasts.
I'll be honest with you, but I have no idea how I set up that RSS feed, but we've got it somewhere. So there you go.
There you go. If anyone wants our RSS feed, just at Chris on Twitter.
No, I don't know what I'm doing.
There you go. Don't at Chris on Twitter. You can at the Super Show Pod on Twitter, though, if you want to send us a little message, join in the conversation, ask us a question, send us a DM. The DMs are open. You are well within your rights to slide into them. Anyway, that's all the news and gaming hot topics and hot takes and bad jokes and amazing segues we've got for you this week. Thank you all so much for listening or watching, whatever it was you chose to do this week. And with any luck, if we haven't put you off too much, we'll see you next time.
Wait.
Oh, fuck. What did I do?
You know what you've missed, fella.
Code word.
Oh, we're going to do code words.
Like we haven't been doing them for 82 fucking
Bro,
episodes.
this is the thing. This is when you host like once a month, you don't remember these things. I'm trying to think what we talked about. We talked about a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff we probably shouldn't have talked about.
Do not write "come" in the comments section, please.
Yeah,
do not write. Yeah, so I'm not even going to say that word because I don't want to invoke it. Was there what was something that was a bit more PG-13 that we had a good laugh about? Chris, you were crying at some point.
Yeah,
what
it was early on. It was maybe something to do with Horizon.
Horizon?
I can't really remember.
I don't have anything on Horizon.
The only thing that I could think of is when we were talking about getting, riding the blue box train. So it could just be like something. For some reason, I thought of Boondock Saints 2 because there's a character there that says "Choo choo, motherfucker." And funnily enough, who stars in Boondock Saints 2?
Willem Dafoe.
I don't think he's in the second one. He dies in the first one, I think. But
okay, an Irishman.
No. Well, yeah, actually. Norman Reedus.
Jacksepticeye. Oh,
Norman Reedus.
So there is a connection.
There is a connection.
Norman Reedus.
So choo choo motherfucker is the code word.
But then they can't say motherfucker, can they?
Oh yeah, it's a bit not PG-13. What about
Choo Choo Hassan? There you go. Just fucking write that.
Choo Choo Hassan.
Choo Choo Hassan.
Choo choo and something. Well, you come up with a better one than you fucking dingus.
I was thinking we could do the internet radio porn stars. Was that was the thing?
But then would the algorithm punish us for having porn stars in our comments? Who fucking knows anymore?
How about this? How about you just post with what you think RSS feed stands for? So what does RSS?
I've got a better one. I fucking smashed it.
What about Al Super Show?
Either Al Super Show or, courtesy of our patron Manuel Guerrero, investigate SJP.
Investigate SJP.
It's got to be that one. It's got to be that one.
Investigate SJP.
The candle in the wind.
And if you want to know what that means, you have to sign up to the Patreon and $5 tier. Look at the extra content. Go to Known Murderer, episode number 1. Matthew Broderick.
We have to say episode number 1 every single time. That's the rule, because then it heavily implies that there will be an episode number 2.
Hey, fingers crossed.
I love it. Fingers crossed. Anyway, that's all from us for this week. Remember to tune in next week. We're going to have so much more of this, and I guarantee you there will be laughs. So bring your popcorn. We'll see you there. Thanks for watching. Goodbye.
See ya.